Chapter 990. Following Qin Guang's smile, the already chilly late autumn forest suddenly became even colder. Even Jiang Yage, who was peeking in from afar, shuddered and scratched her head. That's weird, why is it so cold? Fortune Monger and the others beside Qin Guang could feel it even more clearly. Their teeth chattered as if cold water had been poured over their heads. Fortune Monger, who was furious just a moment ago, immediately sobered up. Fortune Monger thought of the thing that had once left him with an indelible nightmare. He thought of the table that Qin Guang had smashed into pieces that day, and the distance between the two of them. He suddenly woke up. Since his son and his accomplices had died under Qin Guang's hands, then Qin Guang most likely had a gun in his hands. Inner force martial artists were one of the most terrifying existences in the world. How terrifying would an inner force martial artist with a gun be? Fortune Monger didn't know, and he didn't want to experience it. But now this person was standing in front of him, about to take his life in the next moment. Qin Guang, listen to me. Fortune Monger couldn't care less about his son's corpse. He leaned back and sat on the ground. His legs slowly moved across the muddy ground. As he spoke, he tried to calm Qin Guang down, and at the same time he wanted to quietly distance himself. As for avenging his son, he couldn't care less. Saving his own life was the most important thing. Qin Guang raised his hands and looked straight at Fortune Monger. He still had that strange smile on his face. He slowly raised his right hand and looked at the miserable Fortune Monger, but there was no change in his emotions. Since he had decided to make a move, it was like an arrow leaving the bow. There was no turning back. He didn't want his soft-heartedness to ruin things. He was deliberately trying to return to the state of mind of the true martial saint emperor. Although he wasn't bloodthirsty, he saw mortals as ants. As long as he stood on the side of justice, he could control the life and death of others. He didn't need to worry about anything. He just needed to kill to avenge himself. Do it. On the other side, Fortune Sack took advantage of the brief moment when Qin Guang had yet to make a move to quietly widen the distance between the two of them by 4 to 5 meters. He then abruptly roared at Ma Song, who was behind Qin Guang. At this time, although Ma Song was still scared to death, he was the captain of Moneybag's bodyguards and the publicly recognized #1 thug of the Tong Yuan group. Back when he was a soldier, he was also a good fighter in the army. After all, he had been on the battlefield, had some skills, and had seen the world. Ma Song regained his clarity. He gritted his teeth and roared, "Kill!" He used almost all the strength in his body to throw the big guy in front of him. He grabbed it tightly with both hands, aimed at Qin Guang's back and pulled the trigger crazily. Although the others who were standing a little further away were slower than Ma Song, they still took out their weapons after Ma Song. For a moment, sparks flew in all directions and dense gunshots resounded throughout the forest. Moneybag, who was a few meters away from Qin Guang, finally extricated himself from his fear. He cracked his mouth and laughed hysterically. "So what if you're a martial arts master? I don't believe you won't die." Although the beautiful woman had raised her hand to kill people last time, it was because she had moved too quickly and did not give them time to react. After all, Qin Guang was still young. Although his strength was amazing, he lacked the experience of the dangerous Jiang Hu. He had been careless. This time he should be dead, right? Moneybag thought as he raised his head and looked in the direction of Qin Guang. The next moment he was stunned. Previously, when Dan and Song fought against Qin Guang, he used 3 pistols and the bullets were fixed in the air by his internal energy. Now Moneybag was carrying a big guy with a long pipe, but the result was not much better. Ma Song and the rest were still frantically firing at Qin Guang. However, a cloud of dust suddenly exploded around Qin Guang before the bullets that flickered with a metallic luster fell to the ground one after another. After looking twice, Moneybag was sure that his eyes were not playing tricks on him. He did not know how he did it, but when every bullet was about to reach him, it was blocked by the mud that appeared without warning in its flight path. What kind of monstrous ability is this? Am I dreaming? Clicking sounds came from the submachine gun in Ma Song's hand. He had already emptied an entire magazine. But in front of him, Qin Guang still did not turn around. He was still standing there with his right hand raised. Not to mention blood and wounds, his clothes were not dirty. Ma Song was 100% sure that although he did not hit every time, at least 90% of his bullets should have landed on this guy's body. Not to mention killing him, he wouldn't even be able to make him blink or turn his head. Monster. This is a monster. He's not human. Devil. Moneybag, the most loyal bodyguards, continuously emptied their bullets, but it was all in vain. Their minds were blank and everything that was happening in front of them was beyond their understanding. As someone who had seen the methods of an inner force martial artist, Moneybag was more shocked than the others. As a hero of the pugilistic world, Qin Guang's methods were many times stronger than that woman's. Just like how it was written in Wuxia novels, the woman could only live in the worldview of the deer and the cauldron. However, Qin Guang was definitely a character from before demigods and semi-devils. He had almost jumped from Jin Yong's novel to Huang Yi's worldview. Why am I so unlucky? Isn't it good for me to be a local tyrant in Baishui? Why did I provoke such a monster? Why did I want to tear him to pieces? Just how big is my heart? That's not right. We've been minding our own business. They only came to Baishui County to film and I only needed to cooperate with them. I could also ask them to help me advertise my new building. But why did things turn out like this? Unknowingly, Moneybag felt his body become very light, and he slowly floated into the air. Qin Guang was still standing in the same spot, his right hand still raised far away from him. But Moneybag felt that someone was strangling his neck and the strength was increasing. His breathing became more and more difficult. Not only him but the accomplices he brought were also struggling with all their might. It was as if an invisible hand was strangling them, and they floated into the air bit by bit. Only Hunter Gu, who was kneeling on the ground with weak legs, looked on listlessly. He thought that he would be like the others. Moneybag's head drooped slightly, and when he saw Wan Insong's corpse on the ground he finally came to his senses. Yes, it was because of this son of his that he had wanted to hit on Jiang Yage from the beginning, and that was why he had dragged him into yesterday's dinner. In the end, things had gone sour during the dinner and he had embarrassed himself. Then, even though he had already realized that the situation was not good, he had warned him to behave and had even placed him under house arrest. But today he had been released by that prodigal woman and now things had finally come to this. Perhaps I should have listened to County Head Hu. If I had made up my mind to sacrifice myself earlier, if I hadn't said such reckless words when I found my stupid son's corpse, perhaps I could have really lived on. If my son is gone I can have another one and I still have an illegitimate son. But if I die as well then all my troubles will be over. The restraint on his neck loosened a little and Moneybag could finally speak. I regret it so much. He regretted that he had been so lenient toward Wan Insong, and even more regretted that he had not taken this matter seriously. At first he had only treated it as a simple case of Wan Insong's willfulness. Later, when he realized that something was wrong, he had not really made up his mind to restrain his son. I know that you regret it. Qin Guang put his hands behind his back. If I hadn't provoked you this time, would you not have killed me? Qin Guang smiled. Not necessarily. If I had found out about what you had done through other channels, perhaps I would have been unhappy and you would still have died. But if I didn't know anything, then forget it. Why do you like to meddle in other people's business? I'm happy to. Qin Guang shrugged nonchalantly, then he suddenly clenched his fist. Blood splattered everywhere, and the Bao father and son as well as Tong Yuan's forces, who had been tyrannical in Baishui County for many years, were completely annihilated. His wealth of hundreds of millions did not allow him to live another second. Jiang Yage had also seen too much blood today, and her nerves had become thick. Seeing the situation, she jogged over. I thought you guys still wanted to talk. Rolling his eyes, Qin Guang replied, You can't give too many lines for the antagonist. Otherwise, what if someone explodes and I kill them? That's true. Jiang Yage held his hand. Then let's go back now? Wait for a while, someone will be coming soon. They still want to kill people? What are you thinking? This time it's our own people. While the two of them were talking, the lights on the other side of the mountain in the distance lit up. A helicopter rumbled as it flipped over, its bright spotlights sweeping around the forest. Very soon it discovered the abnormality here, then it turned around and sped up to fly over. Qin Guang and Jiang Yage went to the sand dune house to wait. Standing outside it was chilly. Qin Guang was not afraid, but Jiang Yage might not be able to withstand it. The helicopter found an empty space nearby and landed. Special forces armed with live ammunition filed out, then jogged all the way over. When they arrived, even the battle-hardened elites of the army were stunned by the sight of the corpses on the ground. Whether it was the dead giant mutated wolf on the ground, or the mangled bodies of Fortune Sack and his men, or the 9 men with holes in their foreheads, they all gave the dense forest a strange and terrifying smell of blood after the rain. The scene was simply too terrifying, too absurd. "We are here." When the soldiers got closer, Jiang Yage instinctively wanted to get up and greet them. However, Qin Guang stopped her. "Don't be anxious. These people are still very nervous now. If you jump out rashly, what if you scare them and they shoot you?" Before he could finish his sentence, the Special Forces soldiers who had already heard the commotion turned around nervously. They gestured to each other and then disappeared into the forest. They formed a jungle battle formation and approached quietly but quickly. Qin Guang pressed Jiang Yage into the sand dune and walked out himself. Okay, relax a little. "I'm Qin Guang, I've saved the hostages." Just as he finished speaking, a few soldiers with cold expressions stood out from hiding, their guns aimed at him as if they were facing a formidable enemy. They clearly did not let down their guard. Chapter 991. "You're Qin Guang? Nonsense. Isn't Qin Guang a big bald head? Aren't Deng Xiaozhang's crew over there? Who the hell are you? Raise your hands." Obviously, these soldiers didn't know that Qin Guang had come over. They were too nervous to recognize Qin Guang. Slap. The soldier who spoke was slapped on the back of his head. Then a wretched-looking, skinny, middle-aged man stepped out from the crowd and came forward with a straight face. Mr. Director, I was wondering why the scene was so bloody. I didn't expect you to be here. I understand now. All of you put down your guns. You're pointing your guns at the chief of the Guangding General Headquarters. Are you trying to rebel?" When Qin Guang turned around, he saw a fellow with a sallow complexion that was brimming with vigor. He didn't expect to meet an acquaintance here. It was the leader of the Xinxing faction, Dai Quan. It seemed that after his resignation, the relationship between the Guangding General Headquarters and the higher-ups was getting closer and closer. Since he took the plane with these Special Forces soldiers, he should have been in the military base from the beginning. "Chief, you've worked hard. Are you okay? Hey, look at my stupid mouth. You'll be fine even if the sky falls. Hey, I say, why are you guys still so nervous? Relax, all of you, relax for me. Our chief is here. Do you need to make such a fuss?" Interrupting Dai Quan's words, Qin Guang continued, "All right, stop trying to intimidate me. I'm no longer your chief. Don't bring your tricks to work. Jiang Yage, come out." Jiang Yage had wanted to come out long ago. She wanted to teach this group of Special Forces soldiers a lesson. But Qin Guang calmed her down. "All right, control yourself. They're here to save you and they mean well." When the Special Forces soldiers saw Jiang Yage, they completely relaxed and calmed down. Qin Guang thought about it and decided not to greet Dai Quan. Instead, he carried the unconscious Shi Lu onto the helicopter and asked Jiang Yage to follow the helicopter. "I'm not leaving." "All right, you've also caught a cold. Let's go to the hospital for a checkup. If necessary, get a transfusion to prevent any sequelae. Getting a cold during menstruation doesn't seem too good. What if it affects the filming?" Jiang Yage was stunned. "You're still filming?" Qin Guang shrugged. "Why not? Only Shi Lu was affected. Big Beard and the others didn't know what was going on here. The crew's daily expenses are more or less hundreds of thousands of yuan. We should save as much as we can." Jiang Yage thought about it and realized that it was reasonable. Of the entire crew, only Shi Lu was frightened, but she was not the main creator, so it did not affect the filming. Although something had happened tonight, the earth still had to keep turning, right? She was really insensitive and had a strong endurance. Today's incident did not leave any psychological trauma on her. "Then I'll leave first?" Yes. "Hurry up and get Big Beard to arrange for people to wait in the county. Your manager Zhou Xian is in the county?" "Yes." "It's good. Take care of Shi Lu too." You're attracted to someone." Knocking on Jiang Yage's head, Qin Guang replied, "Move your ass. Someone else became a scapegoat for you and that's why they're in this mess. I feel bad about it, alright?" Jiang Yage was amused. She looked at him happily. "You feel bad for someone else because of me?" Qin Guang was indignant. "Of course. This is basic human behavior, okay?" The soldier turned around and urged, Director Qin, Miss Jiang, how much longer?" After confirming Qin Guang's identity, the attitude of these soldiers towards Qin Guang took a 180-degree turn. They were now respectful. As for Qin Guang, the chief instructor of Shun's special training camp, When Qin Guang was still in his honeymoon period with the old patriarchs, whether it was learning about the political mission or passing it on by word of mouth, it was widely spread in the military. It was just that Qin Guang had a shiny bald head when he appeared in front of the camera for a long time. His bald head was so distinctive that many soldiers who did not pay attention to popular news didn't know that his hair had grown back. That was why they didn't recognize him just now. Watching Jiang Yage and Shi Lu board the military helicopter, Qin Guang pulled Dai Quan with a grim expression. Faction leader Dai, what do you think of these wolves? Dai Quan looked around. The other special forces soldiers who did not follow the military helicopter were holding cameras and flashlights, checking the dead bodies one by one. These people frowned from time to time, and then secretly looked at Qin Guang with slightly fearful eyes. Then they quickly pretended to be nonchalant and continued to check the scene. These bastards. Alright, keep it in. I'm asking you about the wolves. Director Qin, don't call me faction leader. I can't take it, keep it in. Brother Qin, in my opinion, there must be something fishy about this. Dai Quan finally became honest. Although it was a little inappropriate to call Qin Guang Brother Qing at his age, in the underworld the strongest had the final say. It was not a big deal even if he called Qin Guang Brother Qing. Can't you show some professionalism? Truth be told, Qin Guang knew everything about the mutated wolves, but he had a deeper meaning behind asking Dai Quan about it. He wanted to know if these giant mutated wolves were difficult to deal with in the eyes of an experienced veteran like Dai Quan. Qin Guang had a faint worry that irreversible changes had already happened. Since he had encountered a giant mutated wolf here today, maybe there were mutated bears, mutated tigers, or even mutated humans in other places. Animals could mutate, and of course humans could also be mutated. Qin Guang could not help but think of one thing. The thief who smashed Wu Tong's bones with a mobile phone, and then suddenly died while in custody. Of course, it would hurt when a mobile phone hit a person's body, but under the circumstances of such a close distance, it was still a bit too exaggerated to break the bones of a well-trained elite police officer like Wu Tong on the spot. As for the person's sudden death, it was even more inexplicable. Unfortunately, Qin Guang did not pay attention to it at that time, and did not follow Wu Tong to check the body. Now that he thought about it, it could be said that it was extremely terrifying. It was very likely that the thief had mutated like the pack of wolves, allowing him to explode his potential in a short period of time, and use strength far beyond that of an ordinary person. However, his body's functions could not keep up with his mutation, and after overexerting his physical strength, his organs rapidly dried up, and he finally died in custody. Linking these two events together, if his guess was correct, then it could prove one thing. The concentration of the power of the Holy Grail on Earth was enough to cause other creatures to mutate without opening the world in the cup. Although Qin Guang could not be sure and had not come to a conclusion, he felt that he had to pay attention to it. It would be best if he was overthinking, but if it really happened, then he had to think about how to deal with the situation. He himself was invincible, and any mutated creature was nothing but dust in front of him. However, he was only one person after all, and did not have the ability or energy to shine like the sun. Of course, it was extremely difficult for ordinary people to deal with mutated creatures, and the risk was extremely high. If he had to rely on someone, Qin Guang felt that he could only rely on an inner force martial artist. Seeing Qin Guang's serious expression, Dai Quan calmed himself down and squatted next to the Silver Wolf King's corpse. He bent down and carefully examined it. This guy was unusually large and his strength must be amazing, but he died a little too miserably. I was the one who tore it into two with my bare hands, and at that time I used about 1/10 of my strength. Dai Quan's body trembled. 1/10? Qin Guang shrugged. Alright, 1/10. Then this wolf is very powerful. Yes, this wolf can also spit out silver light from its mouth, which is no different from a hidden weapon. Its power is probably equivalent to the special sniper rifle bullets you have seen in individual military exercises. Brother Qin, according to what you said, with my ability in close combat, I can probably deal with 2 to 3 of these wolves, no more than that. Although the people of Xianxia sect are not good at fighting, Dai Quan should be in the top 100 in the police force. I understand, Qin Guang replied. The two chatted casually, and not long after, the other 2 helicopters in Baishi County's armed police arrived one after another. The ground was covered in blood, and County Magistrate Hu and the other officials who were wearing leather shoes were vomiting non-stop. The weaker police officers were not much better. Looking at the miserable state of the Bao father and son, county magistrate who had known them for many years, could not help but feel sad. Tragic, this is really tragic. The chubby county magistrate who looked at Qin Guang, who was inspecting the wolf corpses with Dai Quan, and his heart was chilled to the bone. Fortunately, this incident happened too quickly, and he did not have time to drag Fortune Monk into this mess. Yesterday he had received a call from the higher-ups, and he had also talked to a few police chiefs in the county who might have dragged Bao and Song into this mess, especially the people from the scenic area police station. No one had made any unforgivable mistakes. The heavens were truly watching over them. Fortunately, the hostage was fine and was still alive and kicking. Although he did not know why there was another minor actor who seemed to be in a bad condition, as long as Jiang Yage was fine, everything was fine. It seemed that he did not have to run anymore. Mr. Chin, why don't you go back and rest first? We will cooperate with the military personnel to clean up the aftermath, and we will definitely give you a satisfactory explanation. Qin Guang turned to look at county magistrate who not interested in talking to him. The Bao father and son had been domineering in Baishui County for so many years, and as the local official, it was impossible for Fatty Hu not to have some illicit relations with them. The incident happened in a hurry and old Jiang only called 3 helicopters. However, the top military and political leaders of Kainan province must have already taken action secretly. Together with the investigation team that set off overnight the night before yesterday, they must have sent a large number of troops to the border by tomorrow morning at the latest. By that time, the official earthquake in Baishui County would almost begin. At that time, Fatty Hu would be the first to bear the brunt. The rest would be dealt with one by one and no one would be able to escape. It's just a small problem. It's fine as long as she's fine. You guys have nothing to explain to me anyway, so you can continue with your work. Daiquan, come with me over there. I have something to tell you. Qin Guang dismissed the chubby county magistrate who, then pulled Daiquan aside and instructed him with a solemn expression, "You must go back and explain everything clearly to the 2 deputy directors, including the methods of these strange wolves that I just told you. Remember them all. Don't let your guard down. This matter can be big or small." Understood. You have to help the 2 deputy directors. If the situation that I'm most worried about really happens, I'm afraid. Afraid of what? I'm afraid that no one in this world can stay out of trouble. Chapter 992. Qin Guang added another sentence in his heart. His sin was so great that there was no limit to it. Dai Quan sucked in a breath of cold air. It's that serious? Actually, in the records of our sect's inheritance, there have been many ferocious beasts that have appeared since ancient times. This is different. Dai Quan nodded. I understand. Then I'll leave first. Right, take care. Don't worry about the matters here. I'm here on behalf of the Guangding Bureau. I'm the highest commander here, so I can handle it. That's good. Qin Guang quickly disappeared into the dense forest. He planned to go to the tent camp to get the cup, then follow them to the hospital in Baishui County. He sped all the way, his speed not much slower than a helicopter flying in the sky. His expression was somewhat heavy. Although he had killed countless people tonight and the result could be considered okay, Shilu was safe and sound, the father and son of the Bao family were completely dead, and the entire crew was in a false alarm. No one was hurt, and perhaps the green mountains and clear waters of Baishui County could be restored. He could not feel happy. He could not help but imagine an overwhelming number of mutated monsters, mutated tigers, lions, wolves, black bears, and even all kinds of domesticated animals. There might even be insects like mosquitoes, flies, fleas, and crickets attacking humans in a frenzy. Or it could be like the thief. Some ordinary people with poor self-control suddenly obtained a power beyond their understanding, and could not extricate themselves from it. They relied on their superior abilities to do evil, lawless, and disrupted the social order. No matter which of the 2 situations happened, it could be said to be a catastrophic result that affected the entire human race. This would cause chaos in the entire social order, and who knew how much blood would be shed and how many people would die before order could be restored. That scene was simply like a Hollywood doomsday movie. Thinking about this, how could Qin Guang feel relaxed in his heart? I'm still a good person after all. Who would have thought that the power of the Holy Grail leaking out from a broken cup could not only look cool, but also cause other creatures to mutate? What can I do? I'm also in despair. The cup is just there and I can't stop the power of the Holy Grail from increasing in the outside world. Forget it, even if I have to risk being beaten to death by Liuli, I have to go back and ask her for a solution. This can't go on. I have to do something. Qin Guang thought of Utopia during the Second Punishment World. At that time, the world in the cup had completely merged with the real world. Under the incomparably abundant earth elemental energy, everyone in Utopia had mutated. If the concentration of the power of the Holy Grail continued to increase, there was no guarantee that such a situation wouldn't occur in the future. My heart is so tired and aching. I'm just a cute little handsome guy. I just want to happily learn skills and act cool. Then I'll build a statue and gain faith. Then I'll pass through world in cup one after another while lying down. If he could survive until he completed 3,000 missions without dying of old age, he might be able to smoothly become a god and save Azure, the unlucky god emperor, from the cup. When he became a god, he would be able to ascend to the heavens. He would be able to enlighten all the girls that he liked, had a good relationship with, or were beautiful and cute, so that everyone could enjoy happiness with him. If his luck was better in the future, he might even be able to go to the endless divine realm and be patted on the shoulder by the great god of chaos. Young man, thank you for saving my daughter. I can satisfy all your wishes. Then he would be able to happily lie down in the god realm as a god emperor. He would have billions of cute girls and he would be able to make friends with a few goddesses all day long and so on. I don't want much, don't mess with me like this. I really don't want to drag all of humanity down with me. I also don't want to create a scene as big as the end of the world. This pot is too big, too heavy. The old man can't bear it. With this thought in mind, Qin Guang first contacted the bearded man and confirmed that they had already arrived at the hotel in the scenic area. He also helped them pack up their belongings in the tent. Then he rushed back to the hotel at a speed that was even faster than when he was rescuing Liuli. Without another word, he grabbed his bag and prepared to hide in the toilet to have a calm conversation with Liuli. Sigh. Qin Guang, wait a minute. Seeing that Qin Guang was about to close the toilet door, Big Beard hurriedly stopped him from outside. What? I plan to bring some people to the county to visit Shilu. What about you? Are they all right? Qin Guang thought for a moment. Jiang Yage is fine, but Shilu might have caught a cold. Wait for me for a minute. Find a good car. I'll drive you there after I come out of the toilet. He had thought about it. It was better not to tell anyone about his massacre today. When Shilu woke up, Jiang Yage would also tell her about it. Although the people he killed were people who deserved to be killed, this kind of thing was still a little scary in the eyes of ordinary people. It was fine as long as it was over. There was no need to make a big deal out of it. Otherwise, if the filming couldn't continue, the past 2 months of effort would have been wasted. Big Beard nodded. Hey. By the way, you're not hurt, are you? Are you kidding me? It's not that I'm bragging to you, but even if your friend Xianxia used the purple and green dual swords in Heroes of Zhou Xian a few years ago to stab me in the armpit, I would still be able to clamp them. I'm not talking to you anymore, I'm in a hurry. When Qin Guang finished speaking, he slammed the toilet door shut. Big Beard raised his hand to say something, but he was a step too slow. He scratched his head and said, "The cup of water. You want me to hold it for you? That's not very nice." 30 seconds later, Qin Guang opened the door. Big Beard jumped back. "Who are you?" "It's me. Cut the crap. Let's go. Let's go to the county." Big Beard's eyes widened. He pointed at Qin Guang's head, which was obviously twice as big. "But your head, it's okay. Don't mind the details." Qin Guang didn't want to pay attention to him. He hid his face and walked out. His fingers accidentally touched the corner of his mouth and he grimaced in pain. Big Beardy looked at his back and his mind was filled with Emil's big question mark. He muttered to himself, "What the hell? It's only been a few seconds and there's no sound at all. How did he get hurt like this? Also, what happened to the armpit catching the purple and green dual swords? Did you use your face to catch Sun Wukong's Jingu Bang?" Qin Guang, who was walking in front, recalled the encounter just now. He was really angry. Damn, Luli's hand is really ruthless. He felt that if it wasn't for the super active Mother Earth explosive ability in the world in the cup, he wouldn't have been beaten half to death. Wait, this doesn't seem to be good news. The stronger my recovery ability, the more difficult it is for me to die. Isn't it easier for her to beat me up? Am I not the highest level human sandbag in the world? What the F***ck? No wonder she was so ruthless just now. Wasn't it because she knew she couldn't beat me to death? Forget it. Just let me die. Qin Guang subconsciously wanted to cover his forehead to express his condolences. His hand was about to touch it when he remembered there was a bag on his head. He was angry, but there was nothing he could do. Today's beating was in vain. Let's go back to a minute ago from the moment Qin Guang entered the world in the cup. You're finally here. I thought you could hide outside for the rest of your life. The sound of bones cracking could be heard. Sister Luli, listen to my explanation. Bang. If you hit me again, I'll fight back. Bang bang. I really fought back. Bang bang bang. I thought we were friends. We'll be friends when I calm down. Deer Cry grew a super long leaf and fanned Luli. That's right. Sister Luli, you're tired, right? Come and cool down. Qin Guang didn't know how much time had passed outside, but he felt that he had at least endured a century in the world in the cup. Actually, when he first came in and saw Luli, who had once again turned into an African miss, he knew that he wouldn't have it easy this time. In short, no matter how difficult it was, he had finally endured it. The most infuriating thing was that he couldn't get the power of the Holy Grail from the outside world. At that time he communicated with Luli, who had finally calmed down. Sister Luli, anyway, you're not angry anymore. Can we talk about some serious matters? The situation is really urgent. Go ahead. You saw the power of the Holy Grail from the outside world, right? I know. I also met a mutated creature with elemental abilities today. I know too. Then why is this happening? You triggered the realm of punishment twice and the world in the cup fused with the real world twice. Although the fusion was dissolved afterwards, there was a connection between the two worlds, so the power of the Holy Grail kept leaking out. Two worlds. What the hell? I forgot to tell you. When you triggered the realm of punishment, it was a special world in the Holy Grail called the real world that was created for you after it completely fused with your world. The level of this real world is the same as the realm of life. There are a total of 9 special worlds that are on the same level as the realm of life in the real world. Damn. There's such bad luck. Why didn't you say so earlier? You wouldn't understand even if I told you. Forget it. Then why would the power of the Holy Grail leak? Oh no, leak. I don't know either. If I could figure out the secret of this broken cup, would I still be locked up here? That's true. Is there any way to remedy this? There isn't. Stop messing around. You're a god emperor. I'm just a god emperor locked up in the Holy Grail. Thank you. Then I can only watch helplessly? Congratulations, you got it right, but there's no reward. Then if the power of the Holy Grail continues to increase in the outside world, when will a large number of mutated creatures appear? I don't know. Then what else do you know? Tell me what I should do now. Lily smiled calmly. I'll leave you with a sentence. Everything will work out when it comes to it. You've learned to answer first. Let me add another sentence for you. Everything will work out when it comes to it. In any case, Qin Guang suffered for nothing and came out with a bitter smile. To have met such an unreliable god emperor, yet he hadn't been killed by her yet. His zodiac sign must be that of a cockroach. Squinting his swollen eyes while driving at lightning speed, Qin Guang looked at the distant skyline and thought to himself, forget it. Since things have come to this, there's no point in begging for help. I can only do as Lioli said and take things one step at a time. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. Since I can't resist it, I might as well close my eyes and enjoy the torture of life. If the sky is really going to fall, since it's all my fault, I'll just brace myself and bear it. Otherwise, what else can I do? Big Beard Deng, who was sitting in the front passenger seat, turned to look at Qin Guang, then tilted his head back. Damn, this swelling is going down too fast. Are you a 1,000-year-old Yunnan white herb that has gained sentience? When the car arrived at the county hospital and got off, Big Beard looked at Qin Guang again, only to find that his son's swollen head had completely recovered. Qin Guang. Uncle, don't look at me like that. I know I'm very handsome now. Chapter 993. Big Beard was full of doubts. He didn't know if he had lost his memory or if he was seeing things. Yang Shi and Old Ma, the field manager, were sitting in the back row. When they got on the car, Qin Guang was already sitting in the driver's seat. The two of them didn't look at Qin Guang up close like Big Beard did, so they didn't know what was going on. Instead, they felt that Big Beard was a little embarrassed. When they arrived at the ward, Jiang Yage was already asleep on the accompanying bed, while Shilu was also sleeping with a glucose drip. The four of them didn't disturb their rest, but pulled the attending doctor on duty to inquire about them. Jiang Yage's physique was as tough as her nerves. She fainted from the cold during her menstrual period, and after she recovered there was no abnormality. It seemed that the dance and fitness she had done in order to maintain her figure had not been in vain. Shilu, on the other hand, was a little weak after being shocked and suffering from a cold. She needed to rest for 2 days. She woke up once before. Her body is fine, but she seems to have suffered a lot of stimulation. Her mental state is a little unstable. The doctor also knew Deng Xiaozheng. Director Deng is really a responsible director. It's already early in the morning, but he still personally came to care about the patient's condition. Big Beard blushed from the praise. He thought to himself, how could I not come? One was Jiang Yage and the other was his old friend's niece. No matter who it was, they were not ordinary artists. He chuckled and nodded repeatedly. It's good that you're fine, that's good. The doctor continued, I really didn't expect a big star like Jiang Yage to be willing to accompany others in the hospital. No wonder my child is so infatuated with her. I used to think that celebrity artists were very arrogant. What a considerate and gentle girl. You flatter me. Qin Guang and the others chatted with the doctor for a while and then walked out of the door. At this time, Zhou Xian was helping Jiang Yage out of the ward. She scolded, My lady, how could you sleep in the hospital? If someone finds out, you'll be surrounded by the whole hospital tomorrow morning. The doctor beside Qin Guang and the others also scratched his head and said, Actually, I tried to persuade Miss Jiang to find another place to rest, but she said that you asked her to take good care of the patient, so she refused to leave. Jiang Yage looks up at Qin Guang in a daze. She feels refreshed. Qin Guang, you're here. Sure. Lower your voice. This is a hospital. Qin Guang quickly gestured to her. The group of people went to the big hotel where they stayed before coming here. Jiang Yage was so sleepy that she could not take it anymore, so she went back to her room to rest. Qin Guang, Zhou Yun, Big Beard, Deng Zhouya, Ren Chong, Zhao Yueling, and the other main cast members who arrived later, sat together for a simple meeting. Big Beard synthesizes Zhou Yun's opinion. In fact, he mainly wanted to find out Jiang Yage's attitude. After confirming that there were no problems, he was relieved. After a discussion, they decided to let the entire production crew rest at the hotel in the scenic area for a day. No one would go out for the time being. They would observe the situation and take it as a rest. They would decide if the production crew could return to work the day after tomorrow. Shilu might not be able to recover, but she was only a stunt double after all. Her absence would not affect the overall situation. Alright, this incident is over without any mishaps. If there's nothing else from the day after tomorrow, let's finish all the scenes in one go. Big Beard forcefully raised his spirits and encouraged the others. The other main cast members were also energized. Qin Guang did not express any opinions throughout. Looking at Big Beard and the others who were in high spirits, he could not help but envy them. They did not know how many people had died in the mountains. The situation this time was special. Perhaps the entire Baishui County military and police who had been at the scene would be ordered to keep their mouths shut. The official explanation given to Big Beard was also very interesting. The hostage-taker, Bao Song, found his conscience under persuasion and took the initiative to return the hostages intact. Tong Yuan Corporation's chairman, Bao Fa Kai, also took the initiative to explain the problem. Currently, they had entered the stage of investigating other cases. The hostage kidnapping incident was considered to have come to an end. The official explanation was very reasonable. Big Beard Deng could only believe it even if he did not want to. Naturally, this was what he told the others as well. As for the only 3 people in the production crew who knew about the incident, Qin Guang, Jiang Yage and Shilu, they would not say anything. Therefore, it was precisely because they did not know anything that they were fearless. Qin Guang envied their fearlessness because they were ignorant. Of course, continuing to film was also his own idea, so he did not expose them. As the saying went, when the entire Baishui officialdom was uprooted the day after tomorrow, he would not have to worry about the Bao father and son having any loyal underlings outside. If one doesn't look out for oneself, heaven and earth will destroy them. To avenge the old master who had already met the king of hell, and the target of revenge was this country, this was simply a multiple-choice question. If they could not uproot the entire Baishui corruption even with old Master Jiang behind the scenes, then all Qin Guang could say was, "I look down on you people in power too much." He did not have the time to worry about others. In fact, he did not have the ability to pray for the world. Although Liuli's words were useless, they were not unreasonable. Now that things had come to this, he had no other choice but to resign himself to fate. Instead of worrying about a disaster that had yet to happen but could not be stopped, he might as well eat and sleep as he should. When the world really fell, he would be able to find the problem and think of a way to solve it. Although his iron fist was invincible, he did not know where the enemy was at all. It was not like he could rush to the roof and roar at the sky, then punch through the air and kill all the potential mutant creatures in the world, right? Therefore what was done and life still had to go on. The show still had to be filmed and the money still had to be earned. The more disaster was imminent, the more he could not be in a mess. He should cherish the present and do what was in front of him. He should build a few more statues as soon as possible and think of ways to accumulate more faith points. Of course, it was not that Qin Guang did not plan to do anything. He had thought of buying more houses in the villa area near the school. It did not matter if he was bluffing or forcing them. In short, he had to think of a way to bring his family to Wujing. Something really happened, he had to save his own people first. Also, he had to warn those who were on good terms with him one by one. If he could get all of them to come to his side, he should not let them go. Of course, he could not tell them in detail. Even if he did, others might not believe him. It was better to scare them. However, things like mutant creatures were hard to guard against. For example, if Lu Fei listened to his suggestion and arranged 100 bodyguards at home, but once the mutation started, dozens of crazy mutants would jump out of the bodyguards. Wouldn't that be harming her instead? Other than taking one step at a time, what else could he do? With these chaotic thoughts in his mind, Qin Guang couldn't sleep tonight. He breathed in the air in the room, but his mind could not get rid of the feeling that what he breathed in was the power of the Holy Grail. Other than oxygen and carbon dioxide, there was also elemental power that was exchanging with his blood. He thought of a song by Wang Lihom, "Change the World." If he was not tone-deaf, he would really want to close the door and sing a song. 4 hours later, the sky outside was just beginning to brighten, and the rumbling sound of cars could be heard from the street outside. Qin Guang got up and stood in front of the window to look. A long line of cars was driving past on the street below. Old Master Zhang's methods came faster than he had imagined, and it was indeed like a thunderbolt. This day was destined to be an extraordinary day for the entire Baishui County. Many people were still asleep when they were suddenly shackled by the military and police who barged in and took them to the cars. Among these people were the fat old Shen from the scenic area police station, Song Liangji from the county branch, and many others from different departments. There were also several other senior executives of the Tongyuan group and their relatives. Even some people who had more or less done business with the Tongyuan group over the years were not spared. Not only that, even some of the people in the city who had deep collusion with the Baishui gang were detained at almost the same time. Some of them already had more solid evidence and some were still in the process of collecting evidence. But since they had decided to make a move, of course they would rather arrest the wrong person than let them go. They would first arrest and interrogate them and at the same time collect evidence. If they were proven innocent in the end, they would be released and restored to their positions. If they were found to be dirty, then their political career would be over, and based on the facts of their crimes, depending on the seriousness of the circumstances, they would have to spend how long in prison. In short, once there was a problem, they would be dealt with severely and would not be lenient. Many people had been unlucky because of this matter. Such a large-scale arrest had been rare in recent years. If they had to blame someone, they could only blame the people in Baishui County. They felt that the sky was high and the emperor was far away. They had lost themselves in money and power, and were so bold that it was frightening. Of course, they were also unlucky enough. If they hadn't run into the hands of Qin Guang and Jiang Yage, they wouldn't have been wiped out. It could only be said that Heaven's Net had a long way to go. They had been doing evil for decades and finally retribution had come. Some things were like this. Before the lid was lifted, no one knew how smelly it was underneath. But once the table is flipped, then every sin you have committed in the past will be slowly investigated by others and turned into a sharp blade of punishment that will slice off your flesh piece by piece. People who had done all kinds of evil always had fear in their hearts. If they were lucky, they might be able to live a peaceful life. After death, everything would be for naught. and it wouldn't matter even if their graves were dug up. The unlucky ones were probably the same as the Bao father and son and the people in Baishi County. What awaited them was a thunderous method and an unpredictable heavenly might that descended from the sky. They would not reason with you and would punish you whenever they wanted. Even the entire Kainan province was silent out of fear. At this time, whoever dared to stand up and plead for the people in Baishui at this juncture would be courting death. At 8:30 in the morning, Central TV Department 1's morning news was the first to broadcast the Baishui case, officially setting the case in stone. In the evening, the news broadcast listed a long and shocking list, and more detailed information was directly published on the websites of several major official mouthpieces in the country. Chapter 994. Big Beard Deng, who was reviewing the script with a few of the main cast members and browsing the web on his tablet from time to time, felt his eyelids twitching. Terrible, it's really terrible. It's really a one-pot kill. As he spoke, he secretly looked at Jiang Yage, whose face was blushing as she scribbled on the script. She was not listening to him at all. Big Beard thought of the countless military and police officers that had been scurrying around the entire Baishui County today, and he was also a little frightened. The power of heaven was vast and mighty, and the mortals suffered. This whole incident was really too thorough. There were about 50 to 60 people listed on the list, but in fact, there were at least 15 cars that had been captured outside the hotel and taken away. There were at least 10 people in each car. Qin Guang stretched and said indifferently, "This is karma. If people don't do bad things, they won't suffer the wrath of the heavens. Don't you think so, uncle?" Big Beard Deng pursed his lips and finally couldn't help saying, "That's the logic." He didn't continue. There were thousands of evil people in the world, but not everyone would provoke Jiang Yage and not everyone would be unlucky. However, he knew that although he had a high status in the entertainment industry, he was still a relatively high-level actor. This kind of inside and outside of the imperial city was not something he should care about, let alone comment on. He gathered his thoughts again and tilted his head to look at Jiang Yage. He looked up to see what she was scribbling on the script, and then he was shocked. "Pai Missy, don't add any more sex scenes. You wrote so much, I don't dare to do it. Don't get me into trouble." Jiang Yage's face turned even redder and she put the script in her arms. "I just wrote it for fun. I don't need you to peek at it." Big Beard felt a little stifled. The female lead changed the script and he, as the director, didn't let her see it. Why was he so bitter? Qin Guang snatched the script from Jiang Yage's arms and looked at it. Then his eyes widened. "Oh my God, your scale is too big. I don't even dare to read it out loud. I'm afraid that the ninth heaven Xian thunder will descend from the sky and strike us into ashes." "It's not as incredible as you make it sound." Jiang Yage refused to comply. Qin Guang said mysteriously, "You still don't believe in the matters of immortals? If you don't believe in God and Buddha, you will eventually suffer a great loss." Jiang Yage stared blankly at Qin Guang's face for a long time before saying, "I believe you." Qin Guang raised his hand and pointed to the sky. "That's right. These things happen when you believe in them. Although a gentleman doesn't talk about strange powers and gods, there are gods 3 feet above us." Jiang Yage stepped on his foot. "Speak properly. You've become so strange today." Qin Guang leaned back. "That's because I have something on my mind." If there weren't outsiders around, Jiang Yage really wanted to pinch his hand and comfort him not to care about what happened yesterday. The next morning, the crew set off from the hotel again to shoot the remaining 2 scenes at the Great Waterfall. When they got out of the car, everyone felt that the air had become especially fresh. Shilu didn't follow them. Instead, she rested in the hotel. She was a little unwilling to give up and tried to get into shape. However, the performance that she put on by forcing herself to put on couldn't be appreciated by others. In the end, she could only give up. Before they knew it, more than a month had passed in the blink of an eye. The entire crew traveled all over the country, flying up and down to 7 or 8 places in the country. They even made a trip to Europe. When Big Beard Deng finally announced that the exterior scenes were done, everyone let out a long sigh of relief. They were finally free. During this period of time, Qin Guang followed the crew up and down, but he didn't stay idle. He really took out 50 million yuan from the Tianguang Group's cash and bought 7 villas in one go in the newly developed villa district near the school. While he was handling the money, he thought of the 170 million yuan that he had lost. He thought that Luli had calmed down, so he hurriedly entered the cup world, intending to ask her. However, before he could say anything, he was beaten up again. This time he tried to resist, but Lu Ming used leaves to tie him up like a dumpling and hung him in the air. He didn't get to ask anything and he was beaten up for nothing, which made him extremely angry. Qin Guang still didn't know that after he left the cup world, Lu Li and Lu Ming also heaved a long sigh of relief. Lu Li patted her chest. "We finally got away with it. I was so nervous." Lu Ming also shook his fruit. "Yeah, it was really dangerous. If he found out that the money was wasted, then Sister Lu Li, it would be really embarrassing for you." If Qin Guang knew that the two of them had actually calmed down a long time ago and were only afraid that he would ask about the money, he would probably vomit 3 liters of blood. However, his plan to get everyone over did not succeed in the end, and it had completely failed. He had been hit in the head by his father first. Qin Guoli's reason was simple and sufficient. He and Feng Rong's friends were all in Lilai County. It was difficult to find people to play mahjong in Wujing. Now that the dust pollution in the country was serious, the PM2.5 near Wujing often went up to 400. Although your mother is recovering very well now, she is still a person who has had a kidney transplant. If she breathes in too much dust, it will be too much pressure on the immune system. If the illness recurs, it will be terrible. Qin Guang said that I will put 2 air purifiers in a room, and Qin Guoli said that you want me and your mother to go to jail? Won't go out for the rest of my life? Well, in short, this matter was over. Even his parents couldn't pull him, let alone other relatives and friends. However, Qin Guang couldn't tell them what he was worried about. What could he say? The end of the world is coming. I met an elemental wolf that can spit fireballs and shoot ice needles. The people in this world are starting to mutate. Maybe the mosquitoes in the house will mutate. What he said was the truth, but Qin Guang felt that he might be ruthlessly sent to a mental hospital by his father. So in the end, Qin Guang's idea was completely ruined. Even his parents were like this, let alone other people. Fortunately, except for Zhou Jingxi and Tang Ying, who were now in the United States, most of the people who were close to Qin Guang were gathered near Wujing, so the situation was not as bad as it seemed. As long as there was a car around, if something really happened, he would be able to rush over immediately. But if a stray dog or cat suddenly changed and was slashed by the neck, it would be futile even if Qin Guang brought everyone to the 5 capitals. After all, it was impossible for Qin Guang to watch over them 24/7. Just like Qin Guoli, although he didn't know what happened, he could hear Qin Guang's worry. However, he didn't take it seriously and comforted him. Don't scare yourself all day long. Even if you are really unlucky, don't some people choke to death when drinking water? As a person, you have to believe in fate. Qin Guang could only pinch his nose and accept it. In the past few days, although he relied on the acting skills of the world-class best actor to smoothly survive, he didn't have an easy time. During this time, the first thing he did after opening his eyes was to run to the window and look outside. Then he took out his phone and quickly read the news on the internet. Then he would run to find someone to chat with. In particular, he couldn't let go of any pets he saw in front of him. He talked about life with the hotel's gatekeeper, talked about ideals with the husky who went out early in the morning and was left by its owner, or compared reactions with the British shorthair who passed by with a beautiful girl who lived in the same hotel. He was about to tire himself out. If it weren't for the fact that he had experienced many storms and had a strong psychological endurance, he felt that he would have almost had a nervous breakdown. The purpose of doing these things was also very simple. He was afraid that when he woke up, the world would no longer be the same as it was before. Every time he got a definite answer, he felt as if he had survived a disaster and had another day of peace. In the eyes of those who didn't know, the sun would rise as usual every day. But in his eyes, maybe the sun would disappear one day and the moon would become 2. Who knew? Unfortunately, he couldn't tell anyone about this. He could only bear the pressure by himself. This situation exhausted a great deal of his energy, but it wasn't as if Qin Guang didn't accomplish anything in the past month. On Tianguang Media's side, hi. My God. This new variety show had already started recording smoothly. Chu Zijin led the team and fumbled around. Fortunately, with the help of the mature team sent by Xiaotsong, they smoothly recorded the first 4 episodes. The online copyright was directly given to Xiaotsong's Bamboo platform. Seeing that he had given people away and supported the 30 million for publicity, they didn't take a single cent from the licensing fee. As for the licensing of the television station, after many investigations, They finally decided on Jiangnan Province's Department 1, which was relatively strong in variety shows among the provincial satellite TV stations in the country. It was also known as Jiangnan Satellite TV, which was jokingly called Chili TV. The broadcast time had also been set. It was set for the middle of next month. It would be broadcast once a week. It was prepared to take over the primetime slot on Friday night. However, the contract signed between the company and the television station was more complicated. It wasn't just a simple licensing broadcast. The relationship between the production company and the television station complemented each other. If the same program was broadcast on Chili TV, Mango TV, or Tomato TV, it would receive much more attention than on a weak provincial TV station like Dachuan Satellite TV. The amount of money paid by the title sponsor and the special advertising sponsor was also very different. If a program with a rating of more than 2% was broadcast on Chili TV, the title sponsorship fee would go up to 100 million. If it was broadcast on Dachuan Satellite TV, they would be stupid to give it 50 million. In addition, the television station said that they would pay the licensing fee to Tianguang Media. However, they couldn't ask the television station to give you a primetime slot and make you pay for it, right? A primetime slot was an investment worth tens of millions. Therefore, the television station definitely had to take a share of the advertising sponsorship. As the program producer, most of the money that Tianguang Media could earn came from the advertising sponsorship. The other half came from other aspects of copyright expansion, such as the licensing fee for on-demand broadcasting on video websites and so on. If they had artists under them, of course they could also send them to their own program to familiarize themselves and make their own artists popular. That was also a cash cow and could be considered a profit. Also, if this program achieved unprecedented success in the country, or if foreign companies recognized this model, the future copyright export would be another story. Chapter 995. After finalizing the television station, schedule and sponsors, according to the contract signed by Zhou Xian and Chili Pepper TV, the basic title sponsorship fee was 100 million, and the 3 special sponsorship fees totaled 60 million, of which 60 million would be given to Chili Pepper TV. Chili Pepper TV bought high. My God. The first season's copyright licensing fee was 40 million. Including the video website's licensing fee and on-demand share, it was estimated to be less than 40 million. Deducting the share to Chili Pepper TV, Tianguang Media's basic income was about 180 million. However, the entire program's production and publicity costs were calculated to be about 180 million. This included the rental of the venue, the construction of the stage equipment, the appearance fees of the celebrity artists, the travel and accommodation fees of the contestants, and various other coordination fees. On the surface, Tianguang Media might be able to break even after completing the entire project with no profit or loss. As for exporting the copyright overseas in the future, it was something that could only be chanced upon and could not be considered a stable income. On the other hand, Chili Pepper TV was guaranteed to earn 20 million. Of course, doing business was not charity. Risks and benefits coexisted. What was mentioned before was the basic income, but if the program's ratings exceeded expectations, the various income would rise steadily. For example, if the average ratings reached 2%, it would be a guarantee. If the ratings reached between 2% and 5%, the sponsorship fee would increase by 10%. Chili Pepper TV's advertising fee would also increase by 10%, and the copyright licensing fee would increase by 5%. In the terms of the contract, if the national ratings exceeded 5%, and the national online viewership and topic share exceeded 15%, the sponsorship fee would be doubled and Chili Pepper TV's copyright licensing fee would also increase by 50%. At that time, even if they had to pay more to Chili Pepper TV, the overall plate would be bigger, and the profits that Tianguang Media could earn would be extremely impressive. At that time, what awaited Tianguang Media would be at least 200 million in net profit, as well as the expected income from overseas authorizations. Although Zhou Xian had just entered the industry, she had not let down Tianguang's trust in her to be able to perfect such a business model in such a short time. The first season of the program had a total of 8 episodes, and they were only recording 4 of them. They were waiting for the first and second episodes to be aired on the satellite to observe the specific effects, and then they could make changes to the content of the next 4 episodes. Of course, the people with special abilities that could be found at the moment could only last for 4 episodes. Now, the production team still had to continue planning and collect program materials from all over the country. Qin Guang had no opinion on the contract that Zhou Xian had signed. He was just worried that the ratings would not be satisfactory. It was a pity that although he was known as the strongest and most versatile variety king, he relied on his own unorthodox methods. It was a little difficult for him to give suggestions. Even if he studied hard and really had the ability to do so, he was not willing to spend his energy on it. His thinking was very simple. Since he had let Zhou Xian take over this responsibility, he would trust her 100% and let her do whatever she wanted. What if they accidentally created a huge IP worth billions of yuan? If the viewership ratings really collapsed, at worst he would personally participate in the next 4 episodes. Can a person hold in their urine to death? Forget it, he didn't want to think so much. What he needed to think about now was how to deal with the trouble in front of him. He looked back silently at the bloody script in front of him, and then secretly looked at Jiang Yage, who was hiding in the other corner of the coffee shop and discussing with a red face, and Jin Shuiwei, who had just arrived. He thought to himself, can I redo this script? A kissing scene is a kissing scene, I admit it. But what the hell are you doing? After defeating the opponent, spin 720 degrees under the restraint of the boxing ring guardrail for 180 seconds. Would your family stupidly stare at someone kissing on the screen for 3 minutes? Besides, have you ever seen someone kiss in circles while kissing? Gymnastics kissing? Qin Guang turned to look at Big Beard. Uncle? Big Beard Deng's face turned red. Don't look at me like that. I'm innocent too. After I finish filming this movie for Solomon, I've decided to shoot a gay movie without a female lead. I've even thought of the name Brokeback Mountain. You are doing this to avoid Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei? Yes. I am old and a little tired. Accompanying Gage to study is really torturous. But isn't this a film made by the great director Li? Big Beard Deng stretched out 2 fingers. I will do too. I have talked to old Li about the copyright and I will co-direct with him. Qin Guang silently grabbed his hand. I think you may need a... You want to be the male lead? No, I think you need an investor who is not short of money. As the two were talking, Jiang Yage pulled Jin Shuiwei over. Big Beard, these are the last few scenes, let's hurry up and shoot today. Jin Shuiwei wanted to say something but stopped. Qin Guang and Deng Xiaozheng couldn't tell if she was looking forward to it or shy. Qin Guang coughed. I have a cold recently, so it is not suitable for kissing scenes. In fact, it was not that they could not shoot, but if they really shot it according to Jiang Yage's script, he was afraid that the old men in Yanjing would catch them on the spot for a wedding. Big Beard also pinched his fingers. Today is not an auspicious day for shooting, so it is not suitable to go out. It is better to stay at home. The two's struggle did not have any effect, and the next morning the rest of the crew was dragged to Wujing Film City. Rin Chong, Zhao Yueling, Zhou Ye, and the rest of the lead actors had already left the crew, and the next time they met would probably be when the film was edited and the cinema release was scheduled. Qin Guang pressed the makeup artist on the chair to touch up her makeup, and from time to time he would secretly look at Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei, who were also putting on makeup, and he could not help but feel a little strange. The stupid script written by Jiang Yage was rejected in the end. After his argument with Big Beard, they cut off the scenes that could not be shown on the big screen, and compressed the crazy 180 seconds into 15 seconds. Stop joking. People would be scolded for being immoral if they spent dozens of dollars to enter the cinema with a close-up kissing scene for 3 minutes. So, it was not that the kissing scene could not be filmed, but at least it had to be done normally. His fight had also achieved some results, so it was not difficult to accept. But now Qin Guang still could not relax because he had never thought of shooting the kissing scene of Jin Shuiwei and Jiang Yage at the same time on the same day. In the movie, Jin Shuiwei played the role of his dead ex-girlfriend, and Jiang Yage played the role of Qin Guang's little fan who inspired him to fight again when he was middle-aged. The two characters appeared in the movie more than 10 years apart, and even in the movie one of the scenes was at the beginning and the other at the end, so it did not feel out of place when it was filmed. But Qin Guang did not expect that when it came to the actual filming things would rush and people would chase people away. Unknowingly, it had become a kissing scene with both of them on the same day. This was their first kiss on screen. Although it was quite enviable to think about, it was actually very stressful and not happy at all. Instead, it was super awkward. If this kind of thing were to spread, wouldn't I be hacked to death? In addition, although there were not many people in the crew at this time, at least half of the people in the crew had left. But the rest of the guys might also be making up stories about me in their minds. Qin Guang turned his head and glanced at Xianxia, who was secretly looking at him. Sure enough, even this guy had a meaningful smile on his face, let alone the others. Do you think I enjoy it? This is simply charaba, okay? Not knowing what Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage were thinking at this time, Qin Guang pricked up his ears again and eavesdropped on their whispers. He thought that if Jin Shiyue felt embarrassed, then he would only shoot one scene today and shoot the kissing scene with another person tomorrow. Although the old man had invincible acting skills, the old man was not ready to sacrifice for art. He could only drag it out for one day. Yage, when I kiss him later, do you think he will stick his tongue out? Sister Shiyue, don't worry. No. Jin Shiyue's tone was a little disappointed, but also a little relieved. No, with his temper he definitely will. Then what should I do? I'm so embarrassed. I'm a little embarrassed. Jiang Yage patted Jin Shiyue's shoulder. Sister Shiyue, don't worry. Don't look at how scared you are now. When you give him a hug later, I guarantee that your mind will be blank. At that time you just need to act as yourself. Big Beard will definitely not say anything. Even if you ask him to say NG, he won't dare. Jin Shiyue was relieved, then looked at Jiang Yage again. She wanted to say something but hesitated. That's good, but you... Jiang Yage understood. She knew that Sister Shiyue was a little embarrassed that she was shooting with Qin Guang first today, and then it was her turn later. Sister Shiyue, what are you thinking? Didn't we never share the cup when we drink together? Jin Shiyue suddenly realized, it seems so. But don't be too proud. I'll say the ugly words first. Anyway, I've made up my mind. When I shoot my scene later, I will deliberately NG 17 or 18 times. You are the one who is thin-skinned, so don't blame me for being ruthless. Jin Shiyue made a gesture to pinch Jiang Yage's waist. You? So sinister. Sorry for my rudeness. No, I want to NG too. Qin Guang decisively withdrew his power. He really couldn't listen anymore. His mind began to imagine the scene later. Big Beard was hysterically yelling NGs. Then he gave the two of them a variety of fancy NGs from all sorts of angles and then took advantage of them. He silently flicked his hair. Too handsome, too charming is also a great trouble. As he turned his head, he saw a group of people walking over from the other side of the set. In the lead was a handsome young man in a white suit. Chapter 996. The man in the white suit was none other than his old acquaintance, Bai Hua. The people around him were all big-bellied and imposing. They were clearly the bosses of various companies. Even so, Bai Hua stood proudly in the crowd, like a crane among chickens. His imposing manner completely overwhelmed everyone else. He truly lived up to his reputation as the first young master of the third generation. Qin Guang's eyes widened. What the hell? Why is brother Bai Hua here at this time? Are you here to mess with me? Bai Hua saw Qin Guang from afar and decisively walked out of the crowd. The others hurriedly followed behind him. Among this group of people, Qin Guang also saw a few old acquaintances, including Lu Chao from Lushi culture, Wang Qing's father Wang Guoxiong, and the big boss of the five capital underworld, Fourth Master Yin. At this time, all the big bosses' faces were filled with joy. Qin Guang remembered that Bai Hua had previously come to Dechuan province on behalf of Tianyi Energy to discuss a new energy project that would invest tens of billions of yuan. It seemed that the matter would be finalized in a few months. Qin Guang, I've asked around and found out that you're filming here today. Since I'm already nearby, I thought that I might as well pay you a visit. Chairman Lu and the rest also wanted to come over and greet you. I hope I didn't disturb you, right? Bai Hua walked closer and asked with a smile. Qin Guang thought, you're already here, what else can I say? Even if someone really has an opinion, it should be Big Beard Deng's problem, not me. He could only casually wave his hand. It's fine. Bai Hua acted as if he was very familiar with them. He turned around and asked the big bosses to sit down. Big Beard Deng also recognized Bai Hua and the people behind him. He hurriedly came over to say hello and then quickly ran away. Bai Hua waved at Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage, who were putting on makeup on the other side of the room. He then turned around and asked Qin Guang curiously, I heard that you guys are almost done. What scenes are you shooting today? Is it okay for us to watch? I know that your acting skills have already reached the pinnacle. You won't be affected, right? Qin Guang shrugged. It doesn't affect me at all. As for today's scene, he swallowed his saliva. then looked at the other bosses like Lu Chao who were like curious babies and sighed. We'll be shooting the kissing scene today. Bai Hua's body trembled. Kiss scene? With whom? Qin Guang's gaze turned to the two women Jin and Jiang. His eyes were especially deep. Those two. Show. The people who came to watch the show twitched, and the big shots also had a very unique feeling in their hearts. Their impromptu visit had actually become a historical moment. As half an insider in the entertainment industry, Lu Chao immediately began to popularize science to others. Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage never shoot intimate scenes. Qin Guang waved his hand. Director Lu, don't mention this matter. I'm under a lot of pressure. Lu Chao thought that Qin Guang was being modest and instead said with a face full of envy, Director Qin, you're being too modest. You don't need to feel any pressure. Think about it, the two of them have been in the industry for so many years and they've filmed so many scenes. Not to mention kissing scenes, have they even held hands before? No, right? In my opinion, the only person in the entire entertainment industry who can make the two heavenly queens break through their limits and boundaries is you. That's right. If it were anyone else, would the two heavenly queens make such a sacrifice? Nonsense, how can this be called a sacrifice? This is filming. This is the art of film, what do you know? Old Lu is still the one who knows how to speak. As expected of someone in the industry. Anyway, Director Qin, do your best. I won't say much, but on behalf of my company, when your movie is released, our company will directly book the entire theater. Yo, that's a big deal. Old Li, your company has more than 30,000 employees. Are you going to do it together? Don't tell me you're bragging. The boss, who was called Old Li, waved his hand nonchalantly. How is this a big deal? My company organizes our employees to watch movies every year. Doesn't it matter who they watch? Of course we have to watch our own people. The others also chimed in one after another. These guys were indeed shrewd people. Their words were all flattering Qin Guang, but no one expressed any envy. Everyone present was a big shot. Although they might not know the real background of Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage, they could roughly guess it, so they did not dare to be envious. That was why things in the world were so interesting. Big shots like Lu Chao and Wang Guoxiong were much more powerful than Bai Shuihe and his son from the Dan family. It was because they stood at a higher position that they could see more things, and their actions were more meaningful. However, Qin Guang did not enjoy their flattery. Instead, he could not sit still, feeling as if he was being roasted on a bonfire. Especially when Bai Hua's expression gradually changed, Qin Guang felt even more unbearable. Brother Bai wanted to say something but hesitated. Perhaps he felt that something was wrong, but everyone here was an outsider, so it was not convenient for him to speak. Finally, when the cameras were about to start shooting, Bai Hua separated himself from the crowd and looked for Qin Guang. He asked, Qin Guang, is this okay? Qin Guang knew what he was referring to. After all, in his heart he and Jin Shiyue had always been lovers. Back then he had fallen in love with Qin Yu, before he was willing to completely give up on Jin Shiyue. But today Qin Guang had to shoot kissing scenes with two people at the same time. It was inevitable that he would not feel good. Although their relationship had changed and it was no longer the love from before, Bai Hua did not want to see Jin Shiyue feel wronged. How could Qin Guang tell him that not only did Jin Shiyue not want to feel wronged, but she also wanted to learn from Jiang Yage and crazily take in Ji's? He had no choice but to pat Bai Hua on the shoulder. Brother Bai, don't worry. I understand. Don't think too much about it. It's just a movie. Isn't this normal for other actors? Bai Hua felt that there was something wrong with his words, but he couldn't refute him. It was not until Qin Guang walked away that he fiercely stomped his feet. Hey, I didn't think it through. I should have asked him just now. Since you said it's a movie, what would you do if Shiyue and Grace were to shoot kissing scenes with someone else? Didn't he trick them into doing it? Jin Shiyue was lying quietly on the hospital bed. The makeup on her face was a little pale and she looked very pale. This was a specially decorated ward. There was a white lily on the windowsill and the TV was playing a highlights clip of a boxing match. In the movie, the girl's life was about to come to an end. She could close her eyes at any time, never to open them again. But at this moment, her eyes were wide open as she stared at the TV screen. Congratulations. Congratulations to Qin Lei for winning the CBO championship. He's an unprecedented genius. On the TV, the young man she missed day and night was standing in the boxing ring. His eyes were swollen and it was hard to tell whether his face was covered in blood or sweat. He raised his right hand high and grinned. Even through the screen one could see the pride in his heart. The scene on the TV changed to a reporter interviewing the boxer Chen Lei. "Mr. Chen, what do you want to say the most at this time?" On the TV, Chen Lei was facing the camera. "Me. I want to tell my girlfriend, no, my wife. Wife, did you see that? I'm coming home right now. Let's get married." Jin Shuiwei smiled. Her smile was exceptionally sweet and a faint blush appeared on her pale face. Her face was filled with unparalleled happiness. Cut. Good, very good. This scene is amazing. Big Beard suddenly shouted, "Cut," and then checked the effects of the scene over and over again. The more he looked, the more satisfied he was. Jin Shuiwei's condition was perfect to the point of being impeccable. Originally, the bearded man was worried that it would be difficult for her to finish the entire scene in one go with this makeup, especially the last one, which was especially difficult. However, when Jin Shuiwei squeezed out that faint pink color on her face, the bearded man knew that he had it. From the monitor, the scene was even more perfect. In that instant, Jin Shuiwei's expression and the light and shadow in the ward intertwined and brightened the lifeless atmosphere. Although Big Beard was good at plot and rhythm, he was also good at using light and shadow effects. Even if it was just a small scene in a modern drama, he still used his aesthetics to the extreme. After another round of work, he immediately moved on to the next scene. The first scene was about 5 seconds of Qin Guang breaking the door and Jin Shuiwei looking at the door in a daze for about 8 seconds. The scene quickly changed to Qin Guang rushing forward and hugging her. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Why? I didn't want to disturb your training. I wanted to see you win the championship. Didn't I win the championship for you? If you had told me earlier, I would have taken you to the hospital earlier. It's useless. This is a terminal illness. Impossible. I won't admit it. It's only been half a year. There's still hope. Qin Guang bent down and hugged Jin Shuiwei tightly. His eyes were so gentle that it could melt glaciers. Jin Shuiwei's breathing gradually became heavy. She hugged Qin Guang tightly. "Don't do this. Kiss me." "Why?" "Because I want to." With that, Jin Shuiwei hugged Qin Guang tightly and kissed him. Big Beard waved his hand and the camera quickly moved forward. Finally, after 10 seconds, Big Beard let out a long breath. Cut. Perfect. Jin Shuiwei opened her eyes and let go of him. She only came back to her senses now. That's it? What did I just do? Why can't I remember anything? Did I lose my memory? There was no problem with my acting just now. There was no NG. How did I pass it in one take? Jin Shuiwei was a little unhappy. It was such a rare opportunity, but her mind was in a daze. She didn't know anything. She got down from the hospital bed with a thick hospital gown and ran to the monitor with a red face. She checked the effects of the camera with Qin Guang and Big Beard. Only then did she see how she acted. She understood at once. Although she was unconscious at that time, she was brought into the scene by Qin Guang. At that time she was his first love. She didn't need to think much. She just needed to give her all for the last kiss. The next time she appeared it would be a funeral photo. Shuiwei, your acting is getting better. At this time Bai Hua also came over and praised her. Although Bai Hua no longer liked Jin Shuiwei, seeing such a loving kiss scene, even if it hadn't gone through post-production, still made his heart ache. May all the lovers in the world be together, but he was still waiting for the flower in the mirror and the moon in the water. He didn't even know when it would end. After being praised by Bai Hua, Jin Shuiwei felt embarrassed. She stole a glance at Qin Guang, then blushed and ran to the dressing room to remove her makeup. Qin Guang watched from the side for a while, then went to remove her makeup as well. Big Beard and Jiang Yage started to reshoot a few scenes that Qin Guang felt were unsatisfactory before he came to the set. Lu Chao and the others surrounded Bai Hua, keeping a distance from the crew and chatting with one another. President Qin is really a happy winner in life. That's right. Although they said on Weibo that there's nothing between them, I think there's definitely a problem. The way they looked at me just now was amazing. Even I, who doesn't watch movies much, was moved to tears when I knew they were filming. If I didn't treat them as my other half in my heart, wouldn't the acting be too realistic? But there's still a scene with Jiang Yage later. Oh right, President Qin is doing his middle-aged makeup right now, right? Yes. Such a complicated makeup to change his age will probably take an hour or so. I still have a meeting at the company, so I'll take my leave first. Me too. After all, this group of big shots were busy people. They had already given Qin Guang enough face by following Bai Hua over to greet him. With too many people here, it was hard to guarantee that Qin Guang wouldn't feel awkward. Therefore, everyone found an excuse to leave, leaving only Bai Hua, who had nothing else to do today, to stay. Of course, when the big shots left, they couldn't help but feel regretful that they didn't get to see Qin Guang kiss the two heavenly queens in a row. This was also the reason why they left at the last minute. They were really afraid that Qin Guang and Jiang Yage's kissing scene would be so perfect. If that happened, how would they flatter him? It wouldn't be a good thing if they accidentally saw a love triangle between the rich and the powerful. They thought about how some of their descendants were addicted to these two little girls, and then thought about how they could use filming to get close to Qin Guang. They couldn't help but feel heartache for their juniors. Compared to ordinary people, their juniors might be envied as second-generation rich kids. But compared to Qin Guang, their second-generation rich kids were really embarrassing. Little Qin was really amazing. In just half a year, he had gone from being an ordinary student to the top. Even young Master Bai from Yanjing, who came to Wujing, specially came to greet him. With this kind of treatment and status, it wouldn't be wrong to say that he was the #1 young master in China. Unfortunately, he didn't have any background. If his good-for-nothing sons had 1/10 of his ability, it would be enough to comfort his old heart. About 3 hours later, at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the second kiss scene officially began. Because this was the last part of the boxing match, the props had to be completely restored to the previous scenes. As for the extras, they didn't have to worry too much. It would be fine as long as the extras were glued to the extras in the post-production. In addition, some of the main audience members who had lines and close-ups also came to the set today. Bai Hua stood far beside Big Beard and looked at the monitor with him. When he saw Qin Guang kissing Jiang Yage again and Jiang Yage crying tears of happiness, he also unknowingly teared up. He didn't know that even though he was separated by more than 20 meters, he was still dragged into the world of acting by Qin Guang. At this time, his mind was turning over and over again, and all he could think about was the tall girl who he bitterly loved but didn't respond to. The love in the movie is so happy, but why is my life so bitter? Bai Hua silently turned his face away, not wanting to let others see his tears. He really wanted to drink a glass of wine and then forget everything. Chapter 997. Cut. Perfect. We're really done this time. Bai Hua was lost in thought when Big Beard Deng, who was sitting next to him, suddenly shouted. He stood up from his chair with a face full of excitement, waving his hands and feet. Bai Hua was shocked. He looked at Big Beard's back. Even though he couldn't see his face, he could feel the excitement and vigor coming from him. He didn't look like an old man in his 50s at all. On the big set, the other crew members also raised their arms and cheered. For many people in the crew, the months-long filming had finally come to an end. Although it was faster than they had imagined, when the dust finally settled, they still felt a sense of satisfaction as if the long journey had finally come to an end. This was also a kind of relief. Qin Guang was still lying on the edge of the boxing ring, his head hanging in the air. Jiang Yage supported his head from below, still crying. She desperately moved her mouth closer to Qin Guang's. Not only that, but her tongue was also desperately moving forward. When she was chatting with Jin Shuiwei, she had put it nicely. The two of them were still wondering if Qin Guang would stick his tongue out. Previously, when Qin Guang and Jin Shuiwei were filming, it was Jin Shuiwei who was completely pulled into the scene and took the initiative to attack. Now it was Jiang Yage who was also pulled into the scene. Because she was playing the role of a particularly active and youthful beautiful girl fan. Her performance was even more aggressive than Jin Shuiwei's. From the start of the scene, she wanted to rub Qin Guang's neck into her body. Her tongue was like an electric drill straight into his body. At that time, Qin Guang didn't avoid it. As the world's best actor, he brought others into the scene, and he himself was also in the scene. But now that Big Beard had clearly shouted "cut," and the others had already started cheering, Qin Guang had instantly broken away from his acting, but Jiang Yage was still immersed in it. Imagine the scene at this moment. The others were raising their arms and cheering, flying hats and congratulating each other in various ways. But he and Jiang Yage were still kissing non-stop. It was really quite awkward. He tried to speak, but this woman was too unreserved. "Do you want me to eat your tongue?" He couldn't speak, afraid that she would accidentally bite him. At this moment, Qin Guang wanted to push her away, but he was in an awkward position. So when he forcefully pushed his head up, he ended up landing on her chest instead. Although when there was no one around, not to mention touching it, it wouldn't be a problem even if he held it in his hands and molded it into all sorts of shapes, but now they were in public. There were so many people, especially Brother Bai, who was watching. In Bai Hua's heart, he and Jin Shuiwei were the ones who had that kind of relationship. If he acted too intimately with Jiang Yage in front of him, it would seem like he was letting her down. Qin Guang knew that his thoughts were quite shameless, so other than this kissing scene, he had been trying very hard to keep his distance from Jin Shuiwei. But just from Jin Shuiwei's kiss, which was almost like her acting, Qin Guang knew that his efforts were probably in vain. The hardest thing to manipulate was the human heart. The tree may desire peace, but the wind will not subside. He had even said something as heartless as breaking up, so how could he push Jin Shuiwei away? What made him even more distressed was that this matter would actually be better handled by Jiang Yage. But it was obvious that Jiang Yage didn't want to have a showdown with Jin Shuiwei. She hid the fact that the two of them had already had a relationship from Jin Shuiwei and even gave Jin Shuiwei advice. Qin Guang was speechless. He didn't know what the obsessed Jiang Yage was thinking. Bai Hua was still sitting in the same place. The cameraman left the camera and went to celebrate. He didn't turn off the power. At this time he was still looking at the two of them kissing passionately. He had never acted before, so he didn't know how to evaluate the current situation. But he had already found an explanation for the two of them. He heard that really good actors had a process of getting into and out of character. Maybe the two of them were too immersed in character and couldn't come out of it for a while? Although Bai Hua hadn't read the script, he could feel the sincerity of the two characters. The more he thought about it, the more envious he was. The happier the others on the set were, the lonelier he felt. Finally, the set gradually quieted down. They couldn't be excited for long. What awaited Big Beard Deng and the other directors was the next step of the special effects and editing work. They still had a lot of work to do. One after another, people noticed that Qin Guang and Jiang Yage were still kissing. Many of them pinched their fingers and counted. It had been about 4 to 5 minutes, right? Aren't you guys a little too much showing off your affection in and out of the show? Qin Guang was really embarrassed. He secretly reached out to scratch Jiang Yage's armpit. Ha ha ha. Jiang Yage couldn't hold it anymore. She giggled and stepped back. She said unhappily, "What are you doing? Be more serious when you're filming. Don't disturb me." Qin Guang shrank back into the middle of the boxing ring and then stood up straight. "You still have the cheek to say that to me? We've already finished filming. It's completely finished." Jiang Yage was stunned. "How is that possible? We just kissed. It was at most 5 seconds. Qin Guang really didn't want to talk to her. "Thank you, it's been 5 minutes. Jiang Yage exclaimed. Can't be right? Where did all the time go?" Qin Guang shrugged. "I haven't even had the chance to enjoy my youth and I'm already old." Big Beard and the other main cast members couldn't help but laugh. They all thought that Jiang Yage was completely immersed in her character. She even bumped into the joke of 10,000 years in a blink of an eye. At this moment, Jin Shuiwei, who was extremely envious of Jiang Yage, also walked up and patted her on the shoulder. "Alright, the movie is really finished this time. Go and remove your makeup." Jiang Yage quietly helped Jin Shuiwei up and looked in Qin Guang's direction reluctantly. She said to Jin Shuiwei in a low voice, "I haven't even NG yet. It's only been 1 shot. I can't take it lying down." "I didn't either." "That's true." Qin Guang also cupped his hands in greeting to everyone. He had intended to remove his makeup, but he saw that the main cast members were all staring at him. He didn't know what he was thinking, but his brain worked for a moment. He said casually, "It's rare for the movie to be finished. Uncle, don't work tonight. Why don't we all find a place in Wujing for a meal? Can be considered a celebration." Deng Xiaojiang was stunned at first, but he immediately reacted. He thought to himself that this kid had really changed a lot in the past few months. He had matured and become more stable. He didn't even need me to remind him. He had taken the initiative to treat the entire crew to a meal to celebrate. He was no longer the willful college student who did things his own way, but the real boss Chen who had the demeanor of a general. "Of course you have to treat. You are the biggest investor of the movie. For many people in the crew, A treat from someone else might be a social event that they didn't want to waste their time on. But for the number one internet celebrity in China, the boss of the movie investment company, and the person who had led the entire cast and crew to great heights in the past 2 months, it was naturally a big deal. There was another round of joyous noise on the set. Qin Guang saw that everyone was happy and he was also happy. He greeted Bai Hua. "Brother Bai, since you are here, don't leave tonight. Let's go eat together." Bai Hua subconsciously wanted to refuse, but before he could say anything, Qin Guang turned around and went to the makeup room. "I forget it. He has already invited me. If I don't go, it'll be a little disrespectful." Bai Hua didn't know how to describe his feelings at the moment. Everyone else was so happy, but his heart was heavy. He couldn't feel happy. He also knew that this wasn't good, but he couldn't control his feelings. Forget it, he would just find an excuse to leave when he came out later. But it was rare for him to come here, so he had to ask Qin Guang about Qin Yu. He was really unwilling to just leave like this. While he was worrying about his gains and losses, Bai Hua finally followed the crew to the most famous place in Wujing City, Everyday Fishing Bay. When the 2 buses, 4 MPVs and Qin Guang's Passat stopped together, it was already 8 o'clock at night. However, the staff of Everyday Fishing Bay who had received the call had already lined up in a long line at the entrance. A red carpet led from the entrance to the hall inside, stretching for more than 100 meters. An eye-catching red banner was hung at the entrance of the hall. It read, "A warm welcome to the crew of women for dinner at Everyday Fishing Bay. May women do well at the box office." From the time old Ma, the floor manager, made the call to reserve seats to the boss of Everyday Fishing Bay, it took less than 2 hours. The respect expressed by the boss was evident. This old restaurant, which had a history of decades, was known as the best fish in Wujing. In addition to the authentic taste and great reputation, Qin Guang chose this restaurant for another purpose. This restaurant was located in Xianxia County, a suburb of Wujing, which happened to be very close to the campus of Gokyo University in Xianxia. After dinner, he could easily stroll back to school by himself and call Lin Jingwei and the others to have a sumptuous meal. Qin Guang, who was walking at the front, cupped his hands to greet others and marveled in his heart. He didn't expect that he would receive such treatment just by leading a team to have a meal. Things were different now. In the past, in order to have a sumptuous meal here, everyone in the dorm had to reserve seats at least a month in advance. After paying the bill, they had to pinch their fingers and count how many steamed buns they would have to eat for the next month. He had mixed feelings. No wonder so many people were after fame and power. People living at the top of the pyramid were much more convenient than ordinary people. Even if it was just a small meal, they could enjoy benefits that ordinary people couldn't imagine. He called a few of his buddies in the dorm. He wanted to call Gao Ya and Sun Xiaoxuan, but in the end only Lin Jingwei came. Xiong'er and Bai Fan invited someone to play basketball, while Gao Ya and Sun Xiaoxuan were busy with the student council. "I think Sun doesn't want to come." After everyone was settled, Qin Guang went downstairs alone to wait for Lin Jingwei, which was what he said the moment he arrived. Qin Guang couldn't do anything about it. "I didn't think it through." Chapter 998. Lin Jingwei looked at him and sighed. "Sometimes I wonder, are you the second-generation heir or am I the second-generation heir? Compared to you, I'm really the perfect man, the kind that you can't find even if you look for a lantern. Let's not talk about me, just look at Brother Xiaobai. He's a handsome man, a gentleman, and the number of girls who like him can form a line from Zizaman to the Olympic Village. But he's also hanging his heart on you, you crooked tree. Sai, look at how innocent we are. Standing with a decent person like me, Brother Guang, is it stressful for you?" Qin Guang felt uneasy after hearing what Lin Jingwei said. All right. It's all my fault." Seeing Qin Guang sigh, Lin Jingwei comforted him again. "Right, I understand. It's not all your fault. Everyone has emotions and desires. With your personality, you can't take the initiative. Otherwise, you'd be able to open an imperial palace. I'm not blaming you. I just feel that this is a little unfair to the class representative. Gao Yu often talks to me about the class representative. She wants me to advise you, but I can't give you any advice. What are your plans? Are you going to hide like this for the rest of your life? What if the class rep doesn't give up and you leave her all alone?" Qin Guang felt even more helpless. "You just said that I'm a playboy. Why do you want me to give the class rep an answer now? I've tried, but she won't give up. What I mean is, since you're already a playboy, why are you so shy? Why don't you just give her the title of class rep? I can't do it. I'm not good enough for her. Lin Jingwei rolled his eyes. I'm really impressed by the two of you. Even your excuses are so similar. Let's not talk about this. Let's eat. Qin Guang pulled Lin Jingwei into the private room and asked him to sit on the other side of Bai Hua. There were more than 60 people in the crew, but only a few of them were able to sit in the private room. Only Big Beard Deng and a few other assistant directors, as well as Xianxia and Old Ma, Qin Guang, Jiang Yage, Jin Shuiwei and Bai Hua, and now Lin Jingwei. The large round table was just about full. Lin Jingwei didn't want to make Qin Guang's mood too heavy, so after sitting down he took the initiative to chat with Bai Hua. But after all, this wasn't like in private. They couldn't talk about the matters in the imperial city of Beijing, so they could only talk about other things. In the end, after just a few words, Lin Jingwei brought up a sore spot and asked, Brother Xiaobai, you went to visit the filming crew today? What kind of scenes did they shoot? How did it feel to watch a movie for the first time? Bai Hua, who had finally calmed down, felt a lump in his throat again. It was pretty good. Pretty good? Was it Brother Guang who acted well? Or was the movie itself good? Brother Xiaobai, are you interested in investing in a movie? We've all seen it online. It's pretty easy to invest in a movie these days. Although most of the people in the private room didn't know who Lin Jingwei was, seeing that he was quite familiar with Bai Hua, they could roughly guess that this classmate of Qin Guang wasn't simple. They all chimed in, saying that with CEO Bai's status and wealth, it wouldn't be surprising for him to invest in a movie. Even Jiang Yage was interested. She pulled Jin Shuiwei over and said that if they really wanted to shoot a movie, they might not have the time to be the main characters, but it wouldn't be a problem for them to make a cameo appearance. Bai Hua's eyes were fixed on Qin Guang. Qin Guang, if I invest in a movie, can you help me get your sister, Qin Yu, to play the female lead role? Qin Guang, who was drinking water, almost spat it on Bai Hua's face. Who will be the male lead? Bai Hua blushed. Me. The moment he said that, Qin Guang, Lin Jingwei and Jiang Yage were all dumbfounded. Brother Xiaobai was really going all out. This guy had obviously seen Qin Guang's kissing scene today and wanted to take advantage of her. Qin Guang placed his right foot on Lin Jingwei's foot under the table and rubbed it with all his might before forcefully putting on an act and said with difficulty, My big sister doesn't like to show her face in public. Bai Hua sighed again. You're right. I was too impulsive. Please apologize to him on my behalf. Impulsive my ass. Apologize my ass. Let's not talk about whether Qin Yu really existed. Even if there was such a person, no one had heard what you said. There was no need for you to apologize. As long as you can borrow my mouth to speak to the non-existent Qin Yu, you will be satisfied, right? There's no need to apologize. It's not a big deal. Qin Guang evaded. On the other side, Jiang Yage knew that Qin Yu was Qin Guang in disguise. She knew that the more she said, the more mistakes she would make. She quickly stopped talking and pulled Jin Shuiwei to look at the food on the table. Bai Hua fiercely drained the cup in front of him, choking and coughing twice. He then said, Actually, the apology is fake. I just want to see her. At this time, the other people at the table also read the meaning. They all praised that Qin Yu must be an unparalleled person to be able to get CEO Bai's favor. Bai Hua felt honored by the praise. No one forced him to drink. He filled his glass again and drained it. Then he cupped his hands to the crowd. Director Deng, you're right. I'm not afraid to say it as a joke. Ordinary women can't enter my eyes. But ever since I met Miss Qin Yu, although it's not exaggerated to say that I can't eat or drink, I really can't accept other people. I don't want to judge her appearance. It's blasphemy to only look at her appearance. But in my opinion, in this world, no woman can compare to her temperament. Even if I say this in front of Shuiwei and Solomon, I'll say it. Solomon, don't you think so? Bai Hua drank a bit too much. Jiang Yage secretly looked at Qin Guang, whose face was so red that he wanted to hang himself. She nodded. Brother Bai is right. I really can't compare to Qin Yu's temperament. She began to sympathize with Bai Hua again. She lifted her foot and stepped on Qin Guang's left foot. As a result, Qin Guang's right foot stepped on Lin Jingwei, while his left foot was stepped on by Jiang Yage, creating a terrible cycle. Big Beard Deng's eyes widened. So amazing. Listening to Co by I really want to see it. Maybe she's really a natural-born movie queen. Chen Guang, you have such a sister? Chen Guang squeezed out a smile. My sister doesn't want to be a star. Bai Hua, who was next to him, took advantage of the fact that no one was paying attention and gulped down another glass. Chen Guang is right. Oh right, last time I asked you to help me bring her a letter. What did she say after reading it? Chen Guang didn't know how to answer him. He just gritted his teeth and thought, I can't let this guy continue to play. I really want to ask Luli for a pill that can erase other people's memories and stuff it into his stomach. Since you're so shameless, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Take this, it's even more ruthless than the good guy card. He coughed lightly. My sister said that she's indebted to you, but it's not fate. She already has someone in her heart. Bai Hua froze as if he had been hit by a heavy blow. His emotions became a little too agitated as he poured himself another glass. Just as he was about to send it to his mouth, Lin Jingwei, who was beside him, quickly snatched it away. Brother Xiaobai, you've drunk too much. Unexpectedly, Bai Hua abruptly pulled his right hand back, shoved the bottle into his mouth and drained it. He slammed the table and shouted hysterically. Is this it? Can you tell me who it is? I want to know why I lost. Why? The atmosphere at the table suddenly became very strange. It was supposed to be a good celebration party, but a person of extraordinary status got himself drunk at the table. He was hurt by love and made a scene in front of everyone. It was a complete letdown. If it had been someone else, Big Beard would probably have chased them away with a glare, and the rest of the crew wouldn't have given him any face. But this was Bai Hua, the current vice president of Tianjin Energy, the person who had the power to control tens of billions of cash flow. Ever since he returned to China, he had become the new head of a huge state-owned enterprise that was very popular in the Chinese business world. Even though his current position had little to do with the entertainment industry, everyone knew that such a person would have a terrifying influence in China in the future. If anyone dared to offend him, he didn't have to do anything. He just needed to put on a show, and besides a famous director like Big Beard, everyone at the table would lose their jobs. Who could afford to offend him? Everyone didn't expect this. Wasn't this young Xiaobai quite an experienced person in the news? Why was his condition so strange today? Everyone at the table looked at each other as if they were sitting on pins and needles. They didn't know whether to stand or leave. They all felt that they had seen something they shouldn't have seen. If Mr. Bai sobered up later and remembered that he had embarrassed himself at the table, he might even hold a grudge against the others who had seen him at the table. This was King embarrassing. Qin Guang also didn't expect that a good meal would turn into such a situation. He was also angry. This is my celebration party. Aren't you hurting my reputation by acting like a drunkard here? Besides, your alcohol tolerance is a bit bad. Brother Bai, you drank too much. Lin Jingwei could hear the anger in his heart, so he tried to smooth things over. Qin Guang, stop it. Brother Bai doesn't usually drink white wine, so he lost control a bit. You know this the best. It's really bitter. Bai Hua's mind didn't listen to what Lin Jingwei was saying. He continued to stare straight at Qin Guang. He stammered. I'm sorry, Qin Guang. I didn't mean to make things difficult for you. I just can't accept it. I'm sorry. I beg you to understand me. I've never felt this way before. I can't explain it to you. But I really treated her wholeheartedly. I also know that forced melons won't be sweet. Feelings can't be one-sided. I understand that. I just don't understand. I don't understand. I'm not trying to take revenge. I'm not that kind of person. If it's really inconvenient for you to tell me who that person is, then you can describe to me what kind of person he is. I can't lose without knowing why. Bai Hua's tone became much gentler. His current state was that of a person who was drunk but didn't think he was drunk. After saying some nonsense, he temporarily regained some sobriety and felt ashamed of his drunken antics. In his heart, Qin Guang felt that Qin Yu was a fictional character, and the person she was in love with was even more fictional. You want me to describe a fictional person's fictional lover? Aren't you forcing me to bluff? At that moment, Jiang Yage poked his waist from the side. Qin Guang turned his head to look at her. Jiang Yage's eyes darted to the door from time to time. Her original intention was to think of a way to drag Bai Hua away. They couldn't stay here any longer. Qin Guang pretended to be enlightened. He looked at Jiang Yage with his mouth slightly agape and his eyes wide open. Jiang Yage cursed in her heart. What did you understand? He wanted to say something but it was too late. Qin Guang turned his head to look at Bai Hua and took a deep breath. Brother Bai, I really didn't want to tell you this. But if you really want to ask, I have no other choice. Speak. Bai Hua's eyes were hazy. Qin Guang said resolutely, my sister said that how can people of different genders fall in love? She likes gentle, petite and adorable girls. Bai Hua's eyes widened and his face became paler. His defeat was downright hopeless. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that he would lose to a man. The woman I like also likes women. No wonder my hot blood couldn't be exchanged for even the slightest bit of response. I used the wrong force. Why is my life so bitter? The most frightening thing was that the air suddenly became quiet. But in that instant the private room was completely silent. Everyone's mouth was wide open, forming an O shape. Lin Jingwei, who was standing behind Bai Hua, had a look of despair on his face. My brother Guang, you really dare to King trick me. Jiang Yage clutched her chest, feeling that her heart was about to explode. Only Jin Shiyue, who had seen Qin Yu before but didn't know anything, had a look of enlightenment. She subconsciously said, no wonder. When I saw Qin Yu in Beijing, I felt that she was especially manly. She had a little temperament in that aspect. Don't say any more. Bai Hua clutched his chest, his right hand holding the wine bottle, stumbling out of the room step by step. I'm going out for a breath of fresh air. Qin Guang, Lin Jingwei and Jin Jiang hurriedly followed him out. Before leaving the room, Qin Guang turned around and apologized to the others in the private room. Everyone, I'm sorry, but Brother Bai didn't mean any harm. You guys continue to eat. We'll find a way to send him to rest. Don't take it to heart. Big Beard and the others nodded, not daring to take it to heart. They only wished that they could lose their memories after tonight. They were 2 steps late. When Qin Guang and the others came out, Bai Hua was pulled by Lin Jingwei and poured the remaining half bottle of white wine into his mouth. Lin Jingwei was so anxious that he jumped up and down. Brother Bai, don't. The few of them crowded out the door under the surprised gaze of the daily fishing bay's waitress. Bai Hua didn't even take 2 steps before the wind blew against him. He held onto the tree next to him and began to vomit. However, he didn't sober up after vomiting. Instead, he became even more drunk. He struggled out of Lin Jingwei and Qin Guang's hands, tears streaming down his face. He didn't look like a graceful gentleman at all. He looked like a destitute young man who was trapped by love. The way he was, it would only make people sad and cry. I feel terrible. I want to drink. Qin Guang raised his hand and wanted to knock Bai Hua out. Lin Jingwei stopped him and shook his head slightly. Forget it. Let him vent. Your internal force should be able to prevent him from dying, right? Qin Guang retracted his hand. That won't happen. Then let him drink as much as he wants. This can't go on like this. It's too torturous. Let him give up completely. Brother Guang, do me a favor. I beg you. Other than the few of you, I only have Brother Bai as a friend. Seeing him like this, my heart feels terrible. If we knew it would be like this, we would have thought of something else. I'm also guilty. Qin Guang sighed. Fine. Didn't you drink? You drive to Chief Lu's club and let him drink as much as he wants. Say. Unfortunately, there's no medicine for regret in this world. Alcohol can only poison the intestines. Thus, the group of people drove Qin Guang's Passat. Jiang Yage drove, Jin Shiyue sat in the front passenger seat, and Qin Guang and Lin Jingwei sat in the back. One on the left and the other on the right, they carried Bai Hua towards the city. When they first got on the car, Bai Hua was still quiet. However, halfway through the journey, Bai Hua finally did something that made Qin Guang break out in a cold sweat. He took out his phone and turned to look at Qin Guang. Qin Guang, let me see your sister. I swear this is the last time I'll mention this. I want to hear the words you said to me from her mouth. Otherwise, I won't believe it. Just when Qin Guang was about to reject, Bai Hua waved his phone and continued. I took a photo of you outside the Silver Bull Hotel and saved it in my web drive. I originally planned to delete it and never mention it again. I know that you won't be happy about it, and it doesn't matter if you hate me in the future. But I just want to see her one last time. For this, I can do anything. After today, I'm going to empty my network disk. And I'll never mention it again. Damn. Looking at Lin Jingwei and Jin Shiyue, who were puzzled and looking at him, Lord Guang finally gave up. He would never let Lin Jingwei see a photo of him wearing a pink chiffon nightgown. In addition, Brother Xiaobai, you're too much of a braver person with alcohol. Brother Guang, what kind of photo is it? Lin Jingwei asked curiously. From Qin Guang only gave him one word. Chapter 999. If he had a choice, he really didn't want the legendary Qin Yu to reappear. He felt that this was a stain on his life. If he could strangle his other self, he would rather let Qin Yu die. Unfortunately, he couldn't do it. Compared to a stain that Lin Jingwei already knew about, Qin Guang was more willing to hide another stain. At the very least, Lin Jingwei was involved in the whole matter of him pretending to be Qin Yu. Moreover, he was the one who got into it, so he couldn't absolve himself from the blame. He couldn't laugh at himself about this. But if this guy found out that he was wearing women's clothing when he was free, and that it was a sexy and revealing female clothing, Qin Guang was worried that he would have to kill him to silence him. After all, Lin Jingwei was only a little over 20 years old. He still had a lot of years ahead of him. It might be too cruel to let him die at such a young age. So, since Bai Hua said that this was the last time, forget it. He would just pinch his nose and bear it. After all, there was still Jin Shuiwei present. If more people saw the photo in Bai Hua's hands, Qin Guang really didn't know how he would face the rest of his life. Of course, Brother Xiaobai had completely abandoned his integrity. They were already so familiar with each other, but he actually secretly took photos and then threatened him afterwards. Later on, he would definitely give him the most painful stab. This is the path you chose, and this one is also doing it for your own good. Instead of letting you suffer for no reason, why don't I, the old man, transform into a fairy and purify you? I want you to completely give up. I want your heart to shatter into ashes. I want you to directly escape into the void. I want you to be afraid of women in the future. There's no end to this, you're still pestering me. When they arrived at the clubhouse, Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei covered their faces before entering. Although this was Lu Chao's territory, Qin Guang still didn't want the news to appear on tomorrow's news headlines that Qin Guang and Jiang Yage visited a private clubhouse together. Since he quietly entered the private room and sat down, Lin Jingwei waved the check to greet the waiter. In short, he asked the waiter in the club to behave and not disturb him. Bai Hua sat on the sofa for about 10 seconds before he turned around and looked at Qin Guang anxiously. Qin Guang couldn't deny it. Sigh, all right. Don't look at me like that. I'll go look for her now. Is she really in the 5 capitals? Bai Hua was overjoyed. What else could Qin Guang say? He nodded and said, it's really there and it's very close to here. Okay, you guys go ahead and sing. I'll be back soon. Bai Hua jumped up from the sofa and said, Jingwei, help me get a dozen beers. I want to boost my courage. The others also didn't want to talk to him. How can you boost your courage with your current courage? You're Xiaobai and you don't even want your face anymore. How can you boost your courage? Are you trying to boost your cholecystitis? On the other side, Qin Guang pulled Jiang Yage and ran away. After all, he pretended to come out to pick them up, but he was drunk. He couldn't violate his principle of never driving after drinking. So Jiang Yage had to be his designated driver. After the two walked out of the private room, Qin Guang personally went to buy out the private room next door. He was very familiar with this move. What should we do now? Jiang Yage seemed excited and nervous. Even though she had already seen Qin Guang's good deed, she didn't expect to have the opportunity to personally participate in his cross-dressing process. This was a wonderful experience that couldn't be found anywhere else. Qin Guang shrugged. What else can we do? Put on makeup. Did you bring anything? Jiang Yage shook her head. I usually only put on some light makeup. I only bring some foundation with me. I'm afraid it'll be difficult. Then do you know how to put on makeup? How good are you compared to Sister Hua? Jiang Yage knew who Sister Hua was the moment she heard her name. She said cheerfully, to be honest, I learned from Sister Hua. Sister Hua said that I'm only a fingernail away from her. Qin Guang thought for a moment. It's good. I'll call someone to send something over. Qin Guang thought that he couldn't let Big Beard Deng know about this. Luckily, he still had the phone number of boss Hao Yukai, the CEO of Iris Flower Prop Company. Although it was a bit difficult to ask someone to send the equipment over at 10 o'clock at night, his face was bigger than the sky. Boss Hao shouldn't have any objections. Hao Yukai jumped 3 feet high after the phone call. He asked for the location and the equipment requirements. He immediately patted his chest and said that his company wasn't far from here, and the equipment would arrive in half an hour at most. Qin Guang's request was simple. He wanted the special makeup equipment that the guy who sang The Drunken Concubine used on stage. He also wanted a suit. Qin Guang didn't know what Hao Yukai wanted, but it shouldn't be much. After all, Sister Hua, the #1 magic artist in Beijing, had only carried a suitcase over. As for why he wanted these things, he wouldn't explain it to Hao Yukai. Boss Hao wouldn't ask either. As long as Qin Guang owed him a favor, he would be more than happy. In just 25 minutes, Hao Yukai personally carried the bags and even brought a makeup artist to the rescue. How could Qin Guang let someone he didn't trust see his ugly appearance? If word got out, he wouldn't be able to face the world anymore. Since Zhang Yage was there, Qin Guang decisively sent everyone away. Then Qin Guang used his phone to search for the photos he had taken when he was Qin Yu and asked Zhang Yage to compare them. About 40 minutes later, the supermodel, Qin Yu, reappeared. Zhang Yage looked at her work of art with satisfaction. When I don't want to sing or act anymore, I can steal Sister Hua's business, she said as she poked Qin Guang's fake breasts. So annoying, it's more bouncy than mine. Stop it. It's been an hour. Go back to the room next door and tell them I'll be there soon. Will Qin Yu be there soon, or will Qin Guang be there soon? Slapping her butt, Qin Guang roared, I told you to stop fooling around. But your voice right now. It's okay. Don't worry about me. Have a way. Zhang Yage responded. Then she looked at Qin Guang up and down happily before going back to the room next door. Qin Guang took out a cup from his bag and called out to Liu Li in his mind. Unfortunately, there was no response. He had no choice but to clench his teeth and sink into the cup. As soon as he went in, he was greeted by a fist. Lu Ming's cheering came from afar. Sister Liu Li, quick. He's here again. Beat him up. Qin Guang quickly covered his face. Stop it. This is a critical moment. Don't ruin my face. Pfft. Liu Li's fist didn't hit his face in the end. Instead, she laughed. This idiot pretending to be a woman again. Lu Ming also laughed and waved his big green fruit. Oh, I couldn't tell. You're pretty good looking. This guy really knows how to have fun. He's self-sufficient. Qin Guang touched his chest. There's something. What the hell? He didn't know what was wrong with the heavenly holy grail today. It brought in the makeup it put on outside. Usually he would run away decisively. But now he was under the eaves. Let me lower my head first. The situation is urgent. Don't tease me. I just want to settle this mess. Help me. I will never forget your kindness. Liu Li rolled her eyes. It's not impossible for me to help. I won't hold it against you for blowing me up last time. But I only have one request. You don't want me to ask about the 170 million, right? No matter how slow-witted Qin Guang was, he should have guessed the situation. If it had been in the past, he would have been so distressed that he would have wanted to fight Liu Li to the death. But now he was not so short of money. He could still bear the loss of 170 million yuan. Although it was still painful, he had to accept it. You're smart. Liu Li nodded contentedly. All right. I won't ask anymore. Actually, I knew that you, the Divine Emperor's financial butler, wasn't reliable from the television dramas you watched. You're still talking. You're still exposing my scars. I won't talk anymore. Qin Guang didn't admit it verbally. But in his heart he was cursing. A person's shamelessness was invincible. A god's shamelessness could destroy the world. If you squander, then so be it. Why is it so hard to admit a failure and mistake? You're allowed to make mistakes, but you can't let others correct you? I'm not blaming you. Looks like I have to beat you up today. Damn it. How could I forget that she can hear my cursing in my heart? But Liu Li didn't go too far. She was just scaring him. When Qin Guang came out of the world in the cup, he coughed lightly. His voice had changed back to the perfect Qin Yu voice. All right. He took a deep breath. The world-class acting was on again. Forget it. I'll forcefully hypnotize myself first. Thinking about it carefully, weren't most of the actresses in Peking opera played by the teachers? That was called art. It was called creation. I treated it as a play, a movie. Today I'm going to act as a handsome tea who likes girls. Art comes from life. Life is the highest level of art. Although I'm not standing on the stage nor am I singing Peking opera, My life is a play. A play is like life. Thinking about it this way, he felt at ease. Then he prepared to open the door. But just as his hand touched the doorknob, he quickly retracted it and hid behind the door. Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue's voices came from outside. He didn't know why Jiang Yage came out with Jin Shiyue the moment she went in. Sister Shiyue, you're really something. Why are you drinking wine? It's not good for your throat. You don't have a high tolerance for alcohol. Jiang Yage rebuked Jin Shiyue. Lin Jingwei drank alone with Bai Hua. He can't take it anymore. I saw that he was pitiful, so I wanted to help him finish off some of the beer. I didn't expect that I couldn't take it anymore. I only drank 1.5 bottles and my head is already dizzy. Jin Shiyue's voice sounded a little drunk. Hey, why do you care about them? With Chen Guang around, they won't be in trouble no matter how much they drink. You don't know his martial arts. It's amazing. Didn't you say he had something to do and left first? Yes. But if something really happens, I'll call him and ask him to come back. The two chatted as they walked away. They were preparing to go to the toilet to vomit for a while. Chen Guang wasn't in a hurry to go out. He planned to wait until the two returned to their room. After waiting for 3 or 4 minutes, their voices came from outside again. Chapter 1000. Sister Shiyue, stand steady. Sai brother Bai is bewitched today. Don't blame Bai Hua. I can see that he is sincere towards Miss Chenyu. We should be happy for him that he can find happiness. Forget it, let's not talk about this. Let's go vomit some more. You didn't even vomit before you retched. Oh, it's okay. A little beer is not a big deal. Chen Guang had goosebumps all over his body. It would be a miracle if he could find happiness. Just as he was thinking about it, he heard a few drunken voices coming from outside. Brother Xiang, walk steadily. You've drunk too much today. No, it's okay. It's nothing. I'm in a good mood today. Brothers, drink as much as you want. But you must drink as much as you want. If I don't drink to empty my pockets, it's you guys who don't give me face. Qin Guang frowned. At this time, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage haven't entered the private room yet, but the drunkard's voice came from the other side. If they were to bump into him, he's afraid that something bad will happen. They came in a hurry and didn't ask Lu Chao for the most private room. There were too many people in the common area. Hopefully nothing bad will happen. But, blarg. My God. Are you blind, woman? Damn it. Perhaps it's because of what she was afraid of. Jin Shiyue's footsteps were unstable and she bumped into another drunk person. The two brushed shoulders and Jin Shiyue accidentally stepped on Brother Xiang's foot. Then she quickly retracted her leg in a daze and leaned towards Brother Xiang's direction. How could Jiang Yage watch her being taken advantage of? She quickly put her arms around her waist from behind and dragged her back. She squeezed her stomach. Well, it was a big deal. Jin Shiyue had been retching in the washroom for a while and didn't vomit anything out. Now she vomited everything out and landed on Brother Xiang's shiny leather shoes. Qin Guang heard the noise outside. Although he didn't see what was happening, he knew that things were going to be bad. He couldn't care less about hiding. He pushed the door open and was about to go out, but it was already noisy outside. Brother Xiang had vomited all over his shoes, and a lot of it had even drifted onto his trousers. Even though he was drunk, the first thing he smelled was a lingering sour smell, and he was instantly enraged. After all, Jin Shiyue had eaten at the fish manor tonight, so it was only natural for her to have some seafood on her. When she felt nauseous just now, everyone subconsciously leaned forward, trying not to get any of it on themselves. They could only let others suffer. Even the goddess's vomit stinks. You stupid woman. You're courting death. As soon as Qin Guang walked out, he saw Brother Xiang scolding and reaching out to push Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. His eyes narrowed and he didn't want to be polite. Although my people accidentally vomited on you, I understand that you're angry. But I'm sorry, I don't stand on the side of reason. I'll teach you a lesson first and then we'll talk about compensation. I can't just watch Jin Shiyue get hurt, can I? Stop. Although he planned to give Brother Xiang a fierce blow, the distance was too far and he was afraid that he wouldn't make it in time. Qin Guang thought that he had to restrain himself since he was disguised as Qin Yu. He was worried that if he used too much power, the makeup on his face would be shattered. Therefore he decided to gain the upper hand by a show of strength. As he shouted, he quickly approached, intending to use his fierce voice and expression to shock the other party psychologically. But as soon as he opened his voice, he realized that something was wrong. My lion's roar, full of vigor, is gone. It was a woman's voice. It was clear, loud, and slightly sharp, with 3 points of charm and 7 points of heroism. If one had to describe it as hearing the voice before seeing the person at this time, when people heard Qin Guang's voice, they could picture a heroic and icy beauty in their minds. Although it still sounded quite domineering, it didn't feel right at all. Qin Yu first shocked himself, and he had goosebumps all over his body as if he had been electrocuted. But he still achieved his goal. Brother Xiang was stunned for a moment, and his hand that wanted to push Jin Shuiwei slowed down. Jiang Yage quickly pulled Jin Shuiwei back a step, keeping a distance. She was not afraid of trouble, but her and Jin Shuiwei's identity was not ordinary after all. It would not be good to have a conflict with someone in the club. Now that she saw Qin Guang come out, her heart was completely at ease, and she subconsciously shouted, "Qin Guang, Sister Qin Yu, why are you here?" Jiang Yage almost scared herself to death, and she almost said the wrong name. Fortunately, Sister Shuiwei was a little drunk and she should not have reacted. Qin Guang was also scared by Jiang Yage's dragging voice, and he almost died in the hands of his stupid teammate. Brother Xiang turned his head and looked in Qin Guang's direction. Then he looked back at Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei, who were hiding their faces in the corner, and raised his eyebrows. "What? You guys are together? You want me to stop?" Seeing that Brother Xiang had stabilized, Qin Guang slowly walked over and stood before Brother Xiang. At any rate, Qin Guang had a height of 1.8 meters, and he was half a head taller than Brother Xiang, even if he was only wearing a flat-bottomed New Balance. "Yes, I'm asking you to stop. It's not a big deal. My friend is a little drunk and it's her fault for puking on you. I'll apologize to you on behalf of her. Give her face and let's forget about this matter. How about it?" As Qin Guang spoke, he quietly shielded Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei behind him. Jin Shuiwei was still a little worried, but Jiang Yage had already begun to worry about Brother Xiang and the others. "God bless you guys, don't be too pretentious or someone will really die." "Face? Who are you? How much face do you have? Do you know how much a pair of Brother Xiang's pants cost? Do you know the brand of Brother Xiang's shoes? Can you afford it?" Before Brother Xiang could speak, his follower behind him jumped out first, pointing at Qin Guang's nose and shouting. Qin Guang's face turned cold. He thought to himself that he was not any better than the Miao father and son. Since the fruit of face didn't work and he couldn't reason with them, he could only talk with his fists. So he quietly took his right hand out of the pocket of his professional business suit pants that he had just changed into. Jiang Yage saw that the situation was not good, and quickly held his hand from behind. Otherwise, the finger of this man who was pointing at Qin Guang would be broken. Brother Xiang was not easy to deal with. He lifted his leg and with one hand held by his follower, he pointed at his trouser leg and said fiercely, "Stop talking nonsense and lick it clean." In an instant, the air in the club's corridor, which was originally heated by the heater, suddenly became 2 degrees colder. Jiang Yage saw that the situation was not good, and she couldn't care less about supporting Jin Shuiwei anymore. She quickly hugged Qin Guang from behind. She didn't speak, but Qin Guang understood what she meant. He took a deep breath and suppressed his anger. "Let people go when possible. Don't go too far. I can afford your trousers and shoes, no matter how expensive they are. As for now, you'd better restrain yourself." Brother Xiang had a temper, but Qin Guang had an even bigger temper. Not only did he have a temper, but he also had the confidence. "Yo, you are a big shot." Brother Xiang was so angry that he laughed. "What? You think I don't dare to teach you a lesson just because you are a woman? Damn. Who the hell thinks that they are a woman? You better be more serious." "Don't. Sister Qin Yu, calm down. Qin Yu, calm down." Jiang Yage hurriedly pulled him back, but Qin Guang didn't dare to break free, for fear that he would hurt Jiang Yage. Brother Xiang didn't know that he had said something wrong and poked a hornet's nest. Instead, his eyes fell on Jiang Yage. The lighting in the corridor was poor, and Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei kept hiding their faces, so he couldn't see them clearly. At this moment, Jiang Yage was hugging Qin Guang tightly from behind, and accidentally exposed her face to the light coming from the corridor. Finally, Brother Xiang and the rest could see her face clearly. No one knew who was the first to shout out. "Jiang Yage. Oh my God. The other one also looks a bit like Xianxia. We actually met a celebrity here. Celebrity? So what if she's a celebrity? Do you think a celebrity can just puke all over me and then leave? When ordinary people saw a celebrity, their first reaction was surprise. Their second reaction was to ask for an autograph and a photo. Brother Xiang's reaction was a little different from ordinary people. He licked his lips and there was a hint of lust in his eyes. It was a cliché again. Alcohol makes people brave. He was not a good guy to begin with, and now he was 60% drunk and 40% angry. He felt that he had something on the celebrity, so he couldn't let go of such a good opportunity. Then what do you want? Qin Guang was held back by Jiang Yage. His pair of sharp eyebrows that Jiang Yage had drawn were raised, and he looked at Brother Xiang coldly. Brother Xiang looked at Qin Guang again and smacked his lips. The friends of a celebrity are really different. They are also so beautiful. Forget it. I, Xiang Yongming, am a respected figure in the 5 capitals. How about this? The 3 of you accompany us to the private room over there for a drink, and then each of you sing a song. Then we'll let this matter go. As Xiang Yongming said that, he looked at Qin Guang and Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei behind him. Although he said that it was easy for them to drink a glass of wine and sing a song, if they really entered his private room, those delicate girls would not have the final say. As an insider, Qin Guang knew what this guy was thinking as soon as he saw his eyes. He sighed and slowly pulled Jiang Yage's hand down. Don't stop me. I can't let this matter go. Jiang Yage was hesitant. She was also very unhappy with Xiang Yongming, but she felt that Jin Shuiwei was in the wrong in the first place. There were too many people in this place, so she still wanted to make the big thing small and the small thing small. Xiang Yongming's followers also understood what their master meant. Although they felt that it was a little inappropriate, they also started to make a fuss. That's right. Can a celebrity bully others? Even a celebrity has to be reasonable. Since it's a matter of drinking, let's settle it on the table. We won't go overboard. Qin Guang was very annoyed and turned around to glare at them. Forget it. I've given you some color and you're starting a dye shop? I'm not going to apologize to you today. What are you going to do? When he heard this, he felt so uncomfortable and wanted to die. Never in my wildest dreams would I have thought that there would come a day when I would call myself an old lady in my lifetime. My heart is in so much pain. D***m. Beat this pretentious B****. Xiang Yongming was stunned for a moment before he went berserk. He raised his hand and threw a punch at Qin Guang's face. Jiang Yage was afraid that Qin Guang would fight back, so she hugged him tightly and tried to pull him back. She was not afraid that Qin Guang would be hit. Xiang Yongming's followers were the same. They stepped out from both sides. Everyone was drunk. Who was afraid of who? Young Master Xiang had never been afraid of anything in the 5 capitals. A strong dragon cannot suppress a snake in its own territory. At this moment, the door of the private room behind Xiang Yongming, which was the room where Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua were, suddenly opened. Lin Jingwei was pulling at the back desperately. Brother Bai, don't. A white shadow rushed out from the room like a tiger. Bai Hua's eyes were bloodshot. He roared and broke free from Lin Jingwei's control. He held a Carlsberg bottle in his hand and jumped up. **CK. You're asking for it. He came out too suddenly and his attack was too fast and too fierce. The security guard who had just arrived was stunned. The bottle made a full arc in the air and landed on the back of Xiang Yongming's head. Bam! This time it was a headshot. Chapter 1001. What gentlemanly demeanor. What natural and unrestrained manner. It was all gone. At this moment Bai Hua's mind was completely blank. The moment he opened the door and saw the man waving his fist at Qin Yu, he had lost all consciousness. He didn't care about anything and forgot his identity. No one would believe that the young vice president of Tianjin Energy, a rising superstar in the domestic financial industry, who became famous at a young age but had the demeanor of a general, was the first financial prince of Wuxia, a super-eligible bachelor, handsome and elegant Xiao Bai. He was actually jealous of someone in a KTV club and cracked open the other party's head with a raise of his hand. In the end, Xiang Yongming's fist didn't hit Qin Guang's face. After a miserable howl, he covered his head and fell to the ground. Blood flowed out from the gaps between his fingers. The air froze for a moment. Xiang Yongming's followers were completely panicked. After a short moment of silence, the passageway was in complete chaos. F***ck your mother. F***ck him. Beat him up. Beat him to death. Avenge Brother Xiang. Brother Xiang, calm down. Calm down. Brother Xiang, what's wrong? Are you okay? Xiang Yangming's followers shouted and turned around to find trouble with Bai Hua. Although Bai Hua was a young master that relied on his brain to make a living, he had trained his body regularly so he could take a beating. Relying on the courage brought by the alcohol, he grabbed onto his head with one hand and brandished the broken bottle in the other like a machete. He roared as he charged towards Qin Guang like a mad bull, breaking through the crowd and making his way towards Qin Guang. When he stood up, there were countless footprints on his white suit. His face had also been punched a few times. He looked very embarrassed. Blood was oozing out of the corner of his mouth. His lips were probably cracked. As for the hand that was holding the broken bottle, it was also stained with blood. It was unknown whether it was Xiang Yangming's, or if he had cut someone's hand when he rushed over, or if his fingers had accidentally touched the glass. Miss Qin, you don't be afraid. I'm here. Bai Hua grinned at the dumbfounded Qin Guang, then turned around and waved his arms wildly. Come. Who dares to come up? Do you know who I am? I am Bai Hua. I'm the vice president of Skyline Energy, Bai Hua. Bai Hua waved his hand so fiercely that the bottle in his hand almost scratched Lin Jingwei, who had rushed in behind him. Brother Xiaobai, are you drunk? Lin Jingwei was having a headache. Of course he knew what Qin Guang was capable of. In fact, he had wanted to stay in the room with Bai Hua and watch Qin Yu act tough. However, things didn't go according to his wishes. He had let Bai Hua rush out while he was distracted, and in the blink of an eye, the situation had reached a point where it couldn't be resolved. Just as Lin Jingwei was roaring, someone kicked his lower back ruthlessly, and he fell forward with his back facing upwards. On the other side, Xiang Yangming was protected by two men and hid behind them. When he saw the blood on his hands, he roared hysterically and pointed at Bai Hua. Beat him. Beat him to death. Don't be afraid. If someone dies, I'll take responsibility. Beat him to death. What Bai Hua? I've never heard of him. The underling supporting him was a little flustered. Brother Xiang, this is... Xiang Yangming roared again. Damn it. So what if he's a celebrity? Aren't celebrities just high-class prostitutes? Although I lost an uncle, a skinny camel is still bigger than a horse. I don't believe that I can't even afford to offend a celebrity. Do it. With Xiang Yangming's assurance, his underlings became more courageous. One of them, who looked particularly sturdy, finally saw the opportunity and grabbed Bai Hua's right hand that was holding the bottle. He twisted it hard. Bai Hua felt pain in his hand and his fingers loosened. The bottle fell from his palm. The guy clenched his left fist and punched Bai Hua's face. The man was still mumbling, "White birch? Who the f***ck knows who Bai Hua is? How dare you hurt Brother Xiang? If you don't break one of your arms and legs, don't even think about leaving 5 Jing." Bai Hua looked very powerful, but when it came to fighting he only had a few punches and kicks. How could he be a match for Xiang Yangming's professional underlings? This kind of street fight looked fierce at first, but in the blink of an eye, it would be bad luck if the other party stabilized their footing. In the passageway behind Xiang Yangming's underlings, the club's security guards were still squeezing forward. Although they didn't know the identity of this Bai Hua, since he could come with a celebrity, he was most likely not a small figure. However, young Master Xiang's family was a wealthy family in 5 Jing, so they couldn't afford to offend him. He had bled in the club, so they had to give him an explanation. Thus, they pretended to charge forward, pretending to maintain order, but in reality they did not actually make a move. Perhaps they would wait for Bai Hua to lose at least one of his arms or his face to bleed a little before they would actually try to maintain order. When a fight broke out in such a mixed place as the landlord, the best thing to do was to find a balance. Otherwise, it would be hard for them to explain themselves in the future. Bai Hua looked at the fist that was getting closer and closer. There was a sharp pain in his hand, but he was drunk and felt less pain. Instead of being afraid, he was only worried about the 3 women behind him. He hated that he didn't bring any bodyguards with him today. Otherwise, this wouldn't have happened. He hated himself for being incompetent. If he and Lin Jingwei were completely defeated, the 3 women behind them would definitely suffer. He gritted his teeth and exerted all his strength. intending to break his right hand even if it was dislocated or even broken. His heart was filled with killing intent. As long as I don't die here today, I don't care what kind of background young Master Xiang has. I, Bai Hua, will do whatever it takes to make your whole family pay a price that you can't afford. Although he was the real first young master of China and the apple of the eyes of countless old men in Yanjing, because of his personal cultivation and character, he almost never used his status to act like a tyrant. Instead, he was kind to others. But this time, for the sake of his beloved woman, he decided to make an exception. He was going to kill. He even secretly regretted it. In this world, people don't respect you just because you are kind to others. If he had made the first move earlier, he wouldn't have been so low-key. He could have made a name for himself in the circle of the crown princes in China, which would be more in line with his identity. Who would dare to touch his people then? Lin Jingwei was still leaning forward, the sound of wind whistling behind his head. He knew that someone was holding something unknown in their hands, planning to give him a hard time from behind. But he wasn't nervous at this time. Instead, he looked helplessly at Qin Guang in front of him. In fact, from the moment when Bai Hua rushed out, he had already made eye contact with Qin Guang. He had been signaling Qin Guang with his eyes and shaking his head. He wanted to control the situation and not let it get out of hand. He was very clear about Qin Guang's methods. Once Qin Guang made a move, many of the people here would at least have their arms and legs broken. If they were unlucky, they might really die. Lin Jingwei and Jiang Yage had the same idea. He didn't want Qin Guang to make a move. But now it seemed that he really couldn't. The situation was out of control. Sigh. A long sigh came from the mouth of Qin Yu, who was behind Bai Hua. Inexplicably, the originally noisy passageway became completely quiet in an instant. Time seemed to freeze at this moment. The fist of the strong man holding Bai Hua stopped about 0.5 centimeters in front of Bai Hua's nose. Bai Hua's hand, which was about to be forcibly broken by himself, also stopped. The joints on his shoulder fiercely bulged to the side, but stopped at the point where it was about to break. Behind Lin Jingwei's head, an iron chair stopped about 3 centimeters away from the back of his head. Xiang Yangming's finger, which was still pointing at Bai Hua, was quietly suspended in mid-air. The security guards who pretended to stop them, but were actually paying attention to the situation here, were still staring at them with wide eyes. Jiang Yage and Jin Shuiwei were still hiding behind Qin Guang. But Jiang Yage had already let go of Qin Guang's hand. She wanted to pass Qin Guang and rush forward to help Bai Hua, even though it was useless. Jin Shuiwei was a little further behind. She also wanted to rush forward with a pale face. But when Qin Yu sighed, they couldn't move. At this time, only the clock on the wall at the end of the aisle was still ticking. The second hand was moving forward bit by bit, proving that time had not really stopped. Infinite fear and confusion rose in the hearts of everyone except Jiang Yage and Lin Jingwei. They felt as if their bodies had sunk into a quagmire, unable to move at all. Their limbs and bones had no strength at all, as if their blood had been sucked dry. Their bodies and skin seemed to be wrapped in a layer of steel armor, trapping them inside. Hey, don't force me. Qin Guang sighed again and took a step forward. Jiang Yage, Jin Shuiwei, Bai Hua and Lin Jingwei were the first to break free. Qin Guang didn't say much to the others. He stretched out his hand and threw Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua behind him. He turned around and shrugged indifferently. All of you stand still. Stop messing around. After saying that, Qin Guang glared at Jiang Yage. It's all your fault. You shouldn't have stopped me from the beginning. How could it have ended up like this? At this time he still had Qin Yu's voice. He had completely entered the personality of a cold goddess. When talking to Bai Hua, his tone had an unapproachable tone. When talking to Lin Jingwei, it was a little softer, but when talking to the cute Jiang Yage, it was inexplicably doting and reproachful. Jiang Yage stuck out her tongue mischievously. She pulled Lin Jingwei and Bai Hua aside and said, I know I was wrong. I thought I could reason with them. If reason was really that easy, then the father and son wouldn't have died. Chapter 1002. As Qin Guang spoke, he raised his hand and placed it flat in front of the forehead of the brawny man who had previously pinched Bai Hua's arm. Qin Guang's fingers tightened, and then he flicked his fingernail on the man's forehead. It looked gentle, but in fact it was as heavy as 1,000 pounds. The moment Qin Guang flicked his fingertip, The dust that was floating everywhere in the air and trapping the man instantly went out of control. The internal force that had stagnated the blood in the man's body was also withdrawn. As if hit by a heavy hammer, the man flew back at least 5 or 6 meters, knocking over a bunch of people along the way. Then he landed heavily on the stunned Xiang Yongming. Qin Guang did not stop there. He moved on to the next man and continued to flick their foreheads with his fingertip. Bang, 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 bang. It was like the sound of someone hitting a wall with a hammer. One after another, more and more people fell on Xiang Yongming, piling on him like a human pyramid. Finally, the last of Xiang Yongming's followers was piled on top of the pile of people. 7 or 8 people were piled up at least a meter high in the aisle. Xiang Yongming was almost out of breath and only his head and most of his right palm were exposed. He was hit again and again and there was a sharp pain in his ribs. At least 3 of his ribs were broken. However, this wasn't what terrified and despairing him the most. It was this tall woman, who was stepping on his right hand with an indifferent expression. Then, she stood on her heel and stepped on the fingers with her toes. No, I beg you, don't. Xiang Yongming finally knew fear. No matter what kind of background the other party had, he could tell from the other party's inexplicable means that he had kicked an iron plate today, and it was the kind of iron plate made of alloy steel that made people despair. Now you know to beg for mercy? Weren't you very arrogant just now? I heard that you want us to drink with you? And sing for you? No, I'm just kidding. Kidding? Do you think I'm stupid? No. You're going to take responsibility if someone dies? Tell me, how are you going to take responsibility? Big sister, I beg you. Don't do that. Xiang Yongming had never been so afraid of a person before. He finally understood that when he was under someone else's roof he had to lower his head. You stinking bitch, I'll let you be happy for now but don't let me get the chance later. Xiang Yongming would never have thought that his begging for mercy would not work at all. Instead it would only make Qin Guang angrier. Even though Qin Guang had played the role of a handsome tank and he was already in character, the anger in his subconscious was even harder to control. He stepped harder on Xiang Yongming's finger. Ouch. It hurts. My father is the chairman of Xiang Group, Xiang Guorong. I can compensate you however much you want. Qin Guang frowned slightly. He was a little familiar with the name Xiang Guorong, but he couldn't remember where he had heard it. Finally, an old matter popped up from the depths of his mind. What's your relationship with Xiang Guoming? Xiang Guoming from Xiang Family International. Xiang Yongming thought he had met an acquaintance of his uncle and was overjoyed. Xiang Guoming is my uncle. They were on the same side. Qin Guang suddenly understood. Because of Wang Ren and Su Lijing, Xiang Family International collapsed, and Xiang Guoming was put in prison and sentenced to death. Later he had inquired about it and found out that Xiang Guoming's death sentence had been carried out. However, at that time he had yet to ascend to the position of the director of the Directorate of Light, so his power was not monstrous. The higher-ups did not completely annihilate the Xiang family and only targeted Xiang Guoming. His brothers and sisters still retained a lot of economic strength. Xiang Family International changed from a multinational company to the current Xiang Group. The scale of the company was greatly reduced, but after all, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. The Xiang family could still be regarded as a wealthy family in the 5 capitals. We were on the same side. I do know Xiang Guoming, but he is not on the same side. Oh no, my younger brother is Qin Guang. Do you understand? Xiang Yongming's eyes widened. The name Qin Guang was indeed a lingering nightmare for the Xiang family. They hated him to the bone but feared him like a tiger. Xiang Guoming was just a little careless and got involved in the battle between Su Lijing and him. In the end he ended up dying. In the eyes of the Xiang family, although Xiang Guoming was wrong, he did not deserve to die. Of course they were not satisfied and wanted revenge, but they did not dare. When Xiang Guoming was thoroughly investigated, helping Su Lijing hire assassins to kill people was only one of the crimes. What really sentenced him to death were the other crimes he committed when he was making his fortune, and he was punished for all these crimes. The Xiang family decided to bear with it. After all, the most powerful uncle in the family had fallen. What else could they do? Continue to try to break a rock with an egg? After the incident they could only hide from Qin Guang. But Xiang Yongming would never have guessed that this was a real sin. He might be able to dodge Qin Guang's attack, but he wouldn't be able to dodge it forever. He managed to dodge Qin Guang's attack, but he ended up bumping into his elder sister. Now it seemed that Qin Guang's identity as a commoner was just a cover. How could an ordinary family raise such a woman? Qin Guang had no background. This was the biggest scam of the century. Why am I so unlucky? Also, the people behind you are all Qin Guang's friends. Don't you know that? Xiang Yangming's mouth opened wider and wider. His drunkenness finally dissipated. The memory that he had deliberately ignored came back to him. Yes, Jin Shirui and Jiang Yage were Qin Guang's friends. So today is your bad day. Crack. As soon as Qin Guang's voice fell, he exerted force on the tip of his foot. Xiang Yangming's fingers made a cracking sound. It was hard to tell if they were completely broken or cracked. In any case, the extreme pain made him lose consciousness. A heart-wrenching scream came from his mouth. When Qin Guang loosened his foot, Xiang Yangming's palm was completely deformed from the pressure. The attendants who were still on top of him all felt pain for him and felt their teeth ache. At this time, Lu Chao's security guards finally regained their mobility. They looked at each other, not knowing what to do. At this time, a loud noise came from the other end of the aisle. Lu Chao, who had brought his construction company here for a meeting, heard about the dispute and hurried over. Qin Guang loosened his grip on everyone and the wall of people slid down. Almost everyone had a concussion and almost everyone had broken bones. Xiang Yangming's injuries were the heaviest. He was squashed here and there, howling in pain. Lu Chao looked inside and saw Bai Hua, Jiang Yage, Jin Shirui and Lin Jingwei in the crowd. There was also a tall woman with a cold face. Director Bai. Are you okay? Miss Jean, Miss Jiang, Mr. Lin, I'm sorry I'm late. Are you all okay? Director Bai, your mouth. Oh my god. Bastard. What kind of people are these? Tie them up. Bai Hua was beaten up in his own territory. Lu Chao broke out in cold sweat. Xiang Yangming was still screaming on the ground. His lackey struggled to sit up. Director Lu, this is Xiang Guorong's son. Xiang Guorong? Son. Lu Chao hesitated for a moment, then waved his hand. I don't care what son you are. You don't know how big of a mess you've made. Xiang Yangming, right? Uncle Lu, I'm Xiang Yangming. Xiang Yangming saw that his savior had arrived. He endured the pain and said, It's me. Shut up. Who's your uncle? You better call your father, Xiang Guorong, and ask him to come over and apologize. Tell him that you beat up Tianjin Energy's Bai Hua. He knows what to do. Xiang Yangming saw that Lu Chao had cut all ties with him. How could he not understand that he had not only offended Qin Guang's sister, but it seemed that the person who called himself Bai Hua really had a powerful background. But my hand. Xiang Yangming wanted to use his own miserable state to find some balance. But it was useless. Lu Chao turned around and spat on his face. Don't worry. If Director Bai doesn't calm down, you might have to break something else later. Lu Chao ignored him and turned to Qin Guang, Bai Hua and the others. He nodded and bowed. Director Bai, it's all my fault. Oh no, it's my people's fault. They should have notified me the moment you arrived. If I had invited you to room number 1, this wouldn't have happened. Why don't we change places now? Then I won't have to see these useless people. Don't worry, I, Lu Chao, am responsible for what happened today. I will definitely give you an explanation. Jiang Yage saw that Qin Guang didn't say anything. She was worried that he was going to kill them all. Because of her, Qin Guang had already started a massacre in Baishui County. Although the father and son of the Bao family had their own reasons for seeking death, Jiang Yage didn't want Qin Guang to continue killing because of her and Jin Shirui. Although she didn't believe in karma, it wasn't good to kill people, especially with one's own hands. Jiang Yage thought of the Wuxia movies she had acted in before. There were such characters. Because of their reckless killing, they gradually sank into their inner demons. In the end, they went berserk and became a big devil that everyone in the pugilistic world wanted to kill. Now Qin Guang was an authentic martial artist. Although Jiang Yage didn't know martial arts, she was also worried. So she quickly came out from the side and hugged Qin Guang's hand tightly in front of her chest. Then she tiptoed and whispered in Qin Guang's ear, all right, let's go. There's Chief Lu here to take care of things. The Xiang guy knows how powerful he is. If it really doesn't work, I'll get Brother Bai to deal with them later. Don't mess around. Jin Shirui, who had a telepathic connection with Jiang Yage, also came over from the other side. She wasn't that familiar with Qin Yu, so her actions were relatively reserved. However, she still held on to Qin Guang's other hand. Salman is right. We don't have to stay here. Everything was fine today. Qin Guang looked at Lin Jingwei. Lin Jingwei understood and supported Bai Hua, who had sobered up quite a bit. He said in a low voice, "Let's go up first. Brother Bai, don't you have something to say to Qin Yu?" If it was before, Bai Hua would have said something harsh to Xiang Yangming. But now he couldn't open his mouth. He was very embarrassed. As a man, he didn't seem to be of any help. Instead, he was beaten up. His identity didn't matter when others didn't recognize him. In the end, it was because of Qin Yu that they didn't suffer. For a man, this was too shameful. If he said something harsh at this time, wouldn't it be like he was borrowing Qin Yu's power to intimidate others? Hey. Bai Hua lowered his head and sighed. Lu Chao called for Qin Guang and the others to go upstairs. Jiang Yage tightly held on to Qin Guang the whole time, looking like a helpless little bird. The incident was over and Bai Hua and Lin Jingwei didn't suffer any big losses. Although it was a big deal in Jiang Yage's eyes, it really wasn't a big deal. Ever since she and Jin Shiyue were young, there had been countless rich second generations who had been punished for similar situations. He was used to it. After a few steps, she became playful again. She tightly clung to Qin Guang and her hands were especially dishonest. She hugged his waist and pulled his hand to her waist. She crazily took advantage of him and crazily gave him sex. Seeing Jiang Yage's unreserved appearance, Jin Shiyue wanted to say something but didn't. In the end, she didn't say anything. As for Qin Guang, he didn't have any self-control at this time. He was still in the identity that he had set for himself. It just so happened that Jiang Yage was a cute little beauty that matched Qin Yu's criteria for choosing a partner. Since he wanted Bai Hua to give up today, he might as well make him despair from now on. As for little Linzi, who knew the inside story, he would think of a way to trick him later. Therefore, Qin Guang's hand boldly placed on Jiang Yage's butt, pinching and touching it. Jiang Yage's body stiffened for a moment and then became even softer. She almost buried her head in Qin Guang's chest. Bai Hua, who was walking to the side, secretly saw this scene and felt his heart ache. Chapter 1003. Before this, although he had always been rejected, he had never thought of giving up. Bai Hua never considered himself to be an arrogant person. His confidence was built on the achievements he had made since he was young, and it was not without roots. But this time he was really in despair. In the past, he had heard some ordinary friends chatting and joking about how different genders could be in love. At that time, he had only thought of it as a joke on the internet. But when it really happened to him, it was quite hopeless. Today, his confidence was about to be destroyed. In front of Qin Yu, he had no sense of superiority, and he was even inferior to an ordinary person. Although she had returned to start her own business, it proved that she might also value money, but what she valued was the money and value created by herself and not other people's money. Compared to money and power, she wanted to realize the value of her life through her own efforts. Otherwise, no one would have been able to resist the temptation of the position of senior consultant of Tianjin Energy. Extremely high power, a high salary, and access to all the top figures in the domestic business world. This was a position that could save people 20 years of detours, and it would also receive her full support. But she was not tempted at all. She did not even bat an eyelid as she completely rejected it. Until now, Bai Hua had not found out what Qin Yu was doing through any channels. With his influence in the Chinese business world, this was almost impossible. Then there was only one explanation. Qin Yu was still doing something unknown. Perhaps she had set up an unknown small company, or she was holding a small position in another company. He was really too special, too unique, too different. She had a perfect face, an impeccable temperament, and a strong heart that was absolutely pure and unmoved by external things. She was like a snow lotus on an iceberg that stood proudly at the top of a mountain. She would not easily stop for any roadside scenery. She would only care about what she wanted to care about, and she would only walk along the path that she wanted to live. She had a high level of intelligence and could easily learn a small foreign language like Arabic more thoroughly than the well-known professors in the country. She also had incredible skills, and was even stronger than those martial artists that he had heard about from his elders. She was so perfect that it would only make people feel inferior. Wait, I should have thought of this earlier. She was Qin Guang's older sister. Although Qin Guang's personality was very easygoing, no one could deny his incredible talent. That guy seemed to be invincible in everything he did. It was even said that he had become the undisputed #1 expert in martial arts. How could his sister, who was born from the same womb as him, be an ordinary person? Although the personalities of the siblings were as different as heaven and earth, the genes in their bones should be the same. White birch. In her eyes, perhaps it was just a pile of useless mud mixed in the secular world. Bai Hua, who was full of thoughts, walked slower and slower. Unknowingly he fell behind. He raised his head and looked straight ahead. Qin Yu and Jiang Yage were acting more and more intimately. He gently clutched his chest, feeling as if there was a stone weighing 1,000 kilograms inside. His legs felt as heavy as lead and his breathing became heavy. It was as if someone had lit a fire in his lungs. He even wanted to turn around and run away from this place. He tried everything he could think of and finally he saw her. But when this person really stood in front of him, he realized that it was not a happy thing. The closer one was to hope, the easier it was to feel despair. Just like a prisoner who had been sentenced to death, since he had no hope of living, he always hoped that the death sentence would be carried out as soon as possible. But when he really faced the black muzzle of a gun, even the most vicious criminal would instantly feel great fear. Lin Jingwei noticed Bai Hua's abnormality and quietly slowed down. He followed beside him and supported him a little. Although Qin Guang's back was facing this direction, under the cover of the true martial divine technique, all the minute changes around him could be seen by the mind's eye. He also knew Bai Hua's abnormality. Things had turned out this way and he couldn't say that he was completely at ease. After all, he owed Bai Hua a lot. But there would never be an answer to this kind of thing. As the saying goes, a short pain is better than a long one. There was no point in continuing to dawdle, so he might as well give him a quick death. Everyone moved to the #1 private room, which had already been arranged by Lu Chao to be properly tidied up. Bai Hua deliberately distanced himself from Qin Yu, Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue, and sat far away in the corner. He didn't say a word, nor did he have the mood to order songs. It was as if he had put on a layer of black coat, covering his whole body. Lin Jingwei sat beside him, not knowing how to comfort him. He felt that there was no need for him to do this. Seeing Bai Hua sinking deeper and deeper, Lin Jingwei secretly tried to dissuade him or comfort him in various ways. There were plenty of fish in the sea, so why did you have to be so infatuated? But it was useless. No matter what he said, it was useless. Even when Lin Jingwei tried to greet some of his fair-weather friends in Beijing, asking them to think of ways to bring Bai Hua into contact with some of the so-called socialites, wanting to lead Bai Hua astray, it was useless. Because of this matter, many of the second and third generations in Beijing were blacklisted by Bai Hua. Lin Jingwei also offended many people, causing many complaints. If he wasn't Lin Jingwei, he would have been dragged out and chopped into pieces. As the days passed, Bai Hua sank deeper and deeper, and Lin Jingwei didn't dare to be honest with him. In fact, he felt even more guilty than Qin Guang, and the pressure was even greater. He felt that he was the main culprit. Lin Jingwei also knew that there was no problem with Qin Guang's decision, and he couldn't let things continue like this. Even if it was painful, he had to face it. Lin Jingwei didn't dare to imagine what would happen if Bai Hua found out that Qin Yu was Qin Guang in disguise. This would definitely destroy Brother Xiaobai completely. He might even go crazy. I hope Brother Guang can use his last knife to deal with this matter. If it was just being rejected to the point of despair, based on his understanding of Brother Bai Hua's character, he could still take the blow. He was much stronger than ordinary people, and he was a responsible man who could shoulder the responsibility. There were so many second and third generations in China, but Bai Hua was the only one. He knew better than anyone else how high the expectations of the elders were for him. If everything went smoothly, the probability of him carrying the country on his shoulders in 30 to 40 years was no less than 30%. He had to be more mature than his peers, and he had far more hopes than the other second and third generations. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Who is it? Lin Jingwei got up and opened the door. Lu Chao stood outside and smiled. Mr. Lin, is Boss Bai here? I'm here, Boss Lu. Bai Hua slowly got up in the dark and replied in a very calm tone. Only Lin Jingwei, who had grown up with him and knew him very well, knew that he was actually crying. Lu Chao looked in Bai Hua's direction, but because the light was dim, he couldn't see his expression clearly. He could only say tentatively, "Boss Bai, that Xiang Group Xianggorong wants to pay a visit to you." Bai Hua waved his hand. "No need, let him go." Lu Chao's body trembled slightly. He knew what the words "let him go" meant. Bai Hua had no intention of forgiving anyone, nor would he accept anyone's apology. This seemingly calm statement hid a torrential rage behind it. This made people despair more than any threat. Lu Chao, who had been on the battlefield for a long time, could smell the faint scent of blood in the air. Today's incident was Xiang Yongming's own fault. He had already paid the price of broken bones and broken hands, but it was obvious that this wasn't over. Even if Lu Chao and Xiang Guorong didn't have a deep friendship, he couldn't help but feel a faint sense of sympathy. The Xiang family of Dechuan had been defeated twice in the past year. This time it was really over. "Okay, Boss Bai, I understand." Lu Chao responded and then gently closed the door. He walked out for a long time before he quietly winked at the bodyguard behind him and said in a low voice, "Stop them. Boss Bai doesn't want to see them. Arrange some people to protect Boss Bai when they leave." The bodyguard nodded heavily. "I understand." Qin Guang, who had been pretending to be happy and singing with Zhang Yage, was actually also quietly listening. Hearing Bai Hua's attitude, Qin Guang's mouth slightly twitched and he secretly shrugged. He also felt helpless. Although he didn't know Bai Hua very well, Qin Guang knew that he wasn't a petty person. But this time the Xiang family was really unlucky. They had probably become Bai Hua's punching bag to vent his anger and grievances. He needed an outlet for his emotions. Forget it, this was also good. Just look at Xiang Yongming and Xiang Guoming's behavior. The Xiang family wasn't good people to begin with, so they couldn't let Bai Hua suffocate to death. There was no harm in letting him vent his frustrations. If the Xiang family hadn't done evil, they probably wouldn't be in this situation today. Flies don't bite seamless eggs. It was destined that they would end up like the father and son. However, they were probably a little luckier than the father and son. At least they wouldn't be buried in the wilderness. At this moment, Bai Hua picked up the glass in front of him. This time it wasn't filled with beer but iced fruit juice. He drained it in one gulp, raised his neck slightly, took a deep breath and walked over to Qin Guang. Qin Yu looked back at him. "Are you sober?" Bai Hua nodded. "Yes, I'm awake." Jin Shiyue's finger gently tapped on the touch screen, and the music in the room quieted down. "It's good that you're awake. I heard from my brother that you wanted to see me no matter what." Qin Guang let go of Zhang Yage's hand, then stood up and stretched. He looked at Bai Hua, who was about the same size as him. Bai Hua hid his right hand behind his back and pinched his thigh. "Miss Qin Yu, I'm very sorry for causing you trouble." "There's nothing to be sorry about. I was planning to see Solomon today. If it was just your request, I didn't think it was necessary for me to come. I think I've already expressed my attitude very clearly." Bai Hua's body trembled slightly. He lowered his head. There was no longer the killing intent he had when he spoke to Lu Chao. Instead, there was only infinite loneliness. Now that he thought about it carefully, ever since he met Qin Yu, it had always been his own wishful thinking. He felt that he was a proud son of heaven and he was also hot-blooded. No matter how cold she appeared to be at that time, her sincerity was always able to move metal and stone. He didn't think that when it came to matters of the heart, there was no such thing as reason. Having feelings was having feelings. If he didn't have feelings, even if he lowered his voice and cried bitterly like in the TV series, it was just asking for trouble. Moreover, although he was a proud son of heaven, the other party was the elder sister of a monster like Qin Guang. Considering the strength and overbearingness she showed today, she should be on the same level as Qin Guang, a goddess hanging high above the ninth heaven. In the end, I'm just a mortal. I'm not worthy of her. I understand. It's good that you understand. My immoral little brother should have already told you. As you can see, I like girls, especially girls like Grace. As he said this, Qin Guang reached out again and pulled Zhang Yage into his arms. His hands seemed to be unscrupulously rubbing against her body through her clothes. Zhang Yage's mood was also very complicated, but Qin Guang's hands seemed to have some kind of magic power. It was obviously just scratching an itch through her boots, but it still made her heart rise and fall. She couldn't help but feel weak. As an insider, Zhang Yage also knew why Qin Guang was doing this. She also felt that she couldn't let Bai Hua continue like this. No matter who it was for, she felt that she had to help Qin Guang survive today's show. So not only did she not resist, she even took a yard after taking an inch. Lin Jingwei was so scared by this scene that he almost cried. He didn't know that Jiang Yage was actually also an insider. He thought that Jiang Yage had really fallen under the charm of Qin Yu. Lin Jingwei thought to himself, I have to say Brother Guang's papa attacks just now, coupled with this guy's godly makeup that I don't know what he's wearing on his face, coupled with this guy's insane and invincible vocal mimicry skills, even I, a person who knows the truth, almost fell for it. If it wasn't for the fact that Brother Guang's cheap smile popping up in his head, and his stomach turning upside down, Lin Jingwei felt that he might have fallen for this Qin Yu. Although Jiang Yage was a celebrity and a big shot, she was also a small woman. Although he felt that she had some feelings for Brother Guang, she didn't seem to show it clearly. Now it seemed that she had secretly fallen in love with Qin Yu, the doppelganger of Brother Guang. It's all over. Why didn't I think of this? Is this the end of the world? Even if Brother Guang really stabbed Brother Bai Hua today, looking at Jiang Yage now, she would definitely be the next victim. Lin Jingwei quietly turned his head to look at Jin Shiriyue. Another victim. He didn't know why, but he really wanted to rush up and stab Brother Guang to death with a knife in his hand. His real body had mesmerized Jin Shiriyue, and his doppelganger had taken care of Jiang Yage. Did this guy really want to take all the beauties in his eyes? Bastard. Beast. Slut. Envy, jealousy, hatred. Chapter 1004. Only Bai Hua and Jin Shiriyue were completely kept in the dark at this time. Jin Shiriyue was also dumbfounded. She didn't understand what was going on. In her opinion, although Qin Yu was valiant and could be regarded as a strange woman who could move a woman's heart, it was clear that Solomon liked, oh no, deeply loved Qin Guang. This is incredible. This is not the Solomon's ballad I know at all. Jiang Yage's change of heart was too sudden, too violent, and Jin Shiriyue was not mentally prepared. If the protagonist wasn't Bai Hua and the atmosphere wasn't right at this time, Jin Shiriyue really wanted to pull Jiang Yage to the side and ask her, what's wrong with you, are you possessed? Jin Shiriyue couldn't help but recall the scene when she first met Qin Yu. She also remembered that at that time she had slightly frivolously praised Jiang Yage for being cute. At that time she didn't feel anything unusual, but now that she thought about it, it was clear that she had taken a fancy to Solomon at that time. Alas, I should have reminded Solomon to guard against her. A woman's vigilance towards another woman is still too low. But at this time, Jin Shiriyue couldn't say anything. She could only quietly move closer to Jiang Yage and pinch her waist with her fingers, wanting her to restrain herself. Later she would have to ask her what was going on. Jiang Yage knew what Jin Shiriyue meant. She could only say sorry in her heart and think of a way to explain it to Sister Shiriyue later. But this explanation wasn't very good. She couldn't say that Qin Yu was Qin Guang in disguise, could she? But if she admitted that the person she liked changed from Qin Guang to his sister, it didn't seem right. In this way, Sister Shiriyue would think that she had given up on Qin Guang, but in fact she had secretly rolled the sheets with Qin Guang. Wasn't this a bit too despicable? Jiang Yage's heart twitched and she felt guilty again. Recently she had done too many shameful things. Forget it, after today's matter is over, I'll first ask Qin Guang. If he doesn't object, I'll tell Shiriyue the truth about Qin Yu. She should be able to keep the secret. As for the fact that she had slept with Qin Guang, Jiang Yage had not decided whether to confess or not. She really did not have the courage. Even if she knew that there would be an explanation for this matter sooner or later, hiding it from Jin Shiriyue was not a solution. She could only live with the thought that one day was one day at a time. Otherwise, should I secretly find a chance to scam Sister Shiriyue? I'll drug Qin Guang, Sister Shiriyue and Qin Guang and then throw them into a room? Let them cook the rice. Jiang Yage maintained her current soft state while letting her imagination run wild in her mind. She inexplicably came up with this bewitched idea. Not to mention she felt that this idea was really great. We agreed on a fair competition, but I accidentally took a step forward and pulled Sister Shiriyue into a trench. Isn't that fine? Jiang Yage's heart immediately calmed down. She had completely forgotten that with Qin Guang's profound skills, where would she find a drug that could knock him down? From the beginning to the end, Bai Hua, who was standing opposite Qin Guang, quietly watched this scene. He was angry in his heart. but he understood that he actually did not have the qualifications to roar at the other party. Qin Yu did not do anything wrong. Everyone was free to choose the life they wanted. Qin Yu did not owe him any favors, but he owed her. If she hadn't spoken up for him back then, he would have been tricked when he was dealing with the project in the Middle East. Tianjin Energy might have lost tens of billions of dollars, and that incident would have become a lingering stain on his glorious resume. Even today she was the one who lent a helping hand. No matter how powerful she was, even if she could annihilate the entire Xiang family as long as Lu Chao was late, she would not be able to avoid a beating. What's more, if it wasn't for Qin Yu's ability with that Xiang Yangming's madness at that time, he might have broken his arms and legs, or even died on the spot. If he died, everything would be for naught. What would be the end of the Xiang family, and what would be the point? Looking at it this way, he had used the alcohol to act like a hero, but in fact he owed her a favor. I simply have no right to accuse her of anything wrong. Today I forced myself to threaten Chen Guang and demanded an answer from her. Now that she is here, the answer has been given to me. What else can I say? The greatest sorrow in the world is that you don't even have the right to be angry. Bai Hua clenched his fists tightly and his nose felt sour, but he said slowly and clearly, "Okay, I understand. It's good that you understand. I'll emphasize to you one last time that I like women. Don't bother me in the future, and don't bother Chen Guang because of my matters. You're a good person and you should have your own life." As Chen Guang spoke, he patted Jiang Yage's shoulder and said, "If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. I'll come and find you another day. I'll see you out." Jiang Yage followed Chen Guang out. The two struggled for a while. Chen Guang first hid in the women's restroom, while Jiang Yage secretly took out the things from the broken bag room below. Then she ran to the women's restroom and personally helped Chen Guang remove his makeup. On the other side, after Qin Yu left, Lin Jingwei patted Bai Hua's shoulder and said, "Little brother Bai, don't be sad. Really, you shouldn't spend your energy on this kind of thing. The elders are counting on you." Bai Hua smiled bitterly and said, "I understand, but I just can't control myself." Then Bai Hua looked up at Jean Shuriwei and forced a smile and said, "I'm sorry, Shuriwei saw a joke." Jean Shuriwei was also a little distracted and said, "No? It's nothing. I think brother Bai Hua is very brave, but I can't force you." Bai Hua nodded and said, "I understand. Don't worry, I won't be defeated so easily. From tomorrow onwards I will pull myself together again." He reluctantly clenched his fists. Seeing that he seemed to have recovered a little, Lin Jingwei's heart was relieved. Thank God it's over. This *T incident is finally over. I'm so happy that you think so. Come drink some green tea to sober up. Lin Jingwei tried to liven up the atmosphere. Bai Hua took the cup from his hand and sighed again. Alas, if there is a next life, I really want to reincarnate as a woman. The green tea in Lin Jingwei's mouth sprayed all over the wall. You walked out my ass. Can you give me a way out? Not long after, Jiang Yage came back alone. Qin Guang changed his clothes and quietly hid outside the club. There was a time difference between the two. Solomon, you're back. Jean Shuriwei saw this and wanted to pull her aside to say something. Lin Jingwei was also anxious, but with Bai Hua here he couldn't blatantly tell Jiang Yage that she can't be with Qin Yu. That must be Brother Guang himself, right? Instead, Bai Hua opened his mouth and asked, "Solomon, when did you and Miss Qin Yu start?" Jiang Yage's eyes quietly rolled, "Just now." Bai Hua, Jean Shuriwei and Lin Jingwei were all dumbfounded. What kind of damned answer was that? Although you're usually carefree, you don't seem like such a casual person. Could it be that you're not human when you're casual? Jiang Yage embarrassedly squeezed her hands. Actually, I don't know what's wrong with me. It's like I'm possessed. I stand next to her and I can't control myself. I really didn't expect a woman to be so handsome. Jiang Yage rubbed her hands, looking particularly embarrassed, and then said, "In fact, I also think it's strange, but I can't help it. Ai. Brother Bai Hua, I'm sorry. In fact, I think Sister Qin Yu might be a playboy. Maybe a girl like me is her taste. Otherwise, I'll find a way to keep a distance from her, but AI. Jiang Yage's answer almost answered all the questions that Bai Hua, Lin Jingwei and Jean Shuriwei had. As for how to confess Qin Yu's identity to Jean Shuriwei later, it was temporarily put to the back of his mind. Tonight he would safely get through this. While they were chatting, Qin Guang pushed the door open and came in. "What are you talking about?" Jean Shuriwei suddenly raised her voice. Ha 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 ha. Oh, nothing. Qinguang, where did you go? As she spoke, she tightly grabbed Jiang Yage, not letting her speak again. Qinguang suspiciously looked at Jin Shiyue. I didn't go anywhere. My sister told me to hide far away, so I just wandered around outside. Lin Jingwei also came over. Brother Guang, it's good that you're back. Your sister just fought with someone. As he spoke, he winked at Qinguang. Qinguang didn't really understand, so he played along with him. Who had the guts to challenge my sister? No one died, right? Bai Hua, who was next to him, said faintly, no one died tonight, but I don't know if they'll be dead tomorrow. Don't worry about this, I'll deal with it tomorrow. Jiang Yage didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she saw Jin Shiyue and Lin Jingwei's behavior. She knew that Jin Shiyue didn't want Qinguang to know that she had fallen in love with someone else. She didn't want Qinguang to have a bad impression of her. As for Lin Jingwei, Jiang Yage had the same thoughts. Jiang Yage knew that Lin Jingwei didn't know that she already knew, but she didn't know that Lin Jingwei knew about Qin Yu's real identity. As for Lin Jingwei, he didn't know that Jiang Yage already knew about Qinguang's real identity. He said this because he had to pretend that he didn't know anything. This was human nature, and it was time to cover for Jiang Yage. At the very least, he couldn't let Jin Shiyue and Bai Hua think that he didn't care about the fact that Jiang Yage was infatuated with Qin Yu. Messy, this room was really messy. Even Qinguang, who knew everything, was almost dizzy from the situation. After coming in, he didn't dare to speak carelessly and could only chuckle. Fortunately, he didn't have to be tortured for long. They gradually sobered up, and Bai Hua didn't have the mood to stay any longer. Not long after, everyone decided to leave. Jin Shiyue called Zhou Xian to bring someone to pick them up, and the two women returned to the hotel to rest. Bai Hua also called his bodyguards over and arranged for one of them to drive Qinguang and Lin Jingwei back to school, while he himself returned to the Silver Bull Hotel. On the other side, Bai Hua's bodyguards parked Qinguang's car in the parking lot of Gokyo University, and after saying goodbye, they left. After Qinguang and Lin Jingwei left, they all let out a sigh of relief. I'm so tired. Lin Jingwei looked up to the sky and roared. Qinguang hammered his chest with his fist. You still have the face to say that? Do you know how miserable I was for you? Lin Jingwei stared back at him. You still have the face to say that? Are you even human? When you were a man, you charmed Jin Shiyue, and when you were a woman, you flirted with Jiang Yage. Are you a celestial being? People always say that you're not easy to deal with, but you're practically a walking flamethrower. Burn wherever you go. Qinguang was stunned at first. Damn it, I can't tell this guy that Jiang Yage knows everything. Otherwise, how can Jiang Yage face the world? It's a mess too messy. It's a long story. In the future, I might have to write a 100,000-word thesis to explain it slowly. It's too complicated, really too complicated. Forget it, anyway, it's your own business. Brother, good luck. I don't even know how you survived. If it were me, I would be so annoyed to death by so many women. Anyway, Brother Bai Hua won't bother you with Qin Yu's matter anymore. Qinguang was overjoyed. Did he completely give up? Lin Jingwei shook his head. I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Can't you try harder? He looked like he didn't have any more ideas, but then he said something. What did he say? He said if there's a next life, he wants to be a woman. Wild. Brother Guang, why do you look like you're about to die? Is it possible that there's a next life? Can people like you who have reached the realm of martial arts see what happened in your previous life? No. There's definitely no next life. Don't think about this kind of lies. But what kind of existence is a human soul? Is it material or virtual? Was the life form of energy real? If a human soul leaves the body, will it become a material life? Once the energy finds a carrier, does that mean it will turn from an energy body into a physical life form? Get lost. Shut up. A person's reincarnation, the cycle of life, is it a continuous cycle of material and energy just like the cycle of water on Earth? Water, steam, rain? Qinguang kicked Lin Jingwei's butt. If you keep talking nonsense, I'll send you to the mental hospital. Qinguang decisively cut off Lin Jingwei's thoughts. The two of them joked and joked all the way back to the dormitory, discussing some rather profound philosophical questions. When Qinguang slept in exhaustion, he was finally able to free himself from it. The next morning, Xiong'er's deafening roar echoed through the whole dormitory 7 of Gokyo University. Damn. My God. My seventh granduncle. Big news. Big news. Zhang Yaji. He came out of the closet. Qin Guang, Lin Jingwei, and Bai Nyangzi all sat up straight in bed. Bai Nyangzi was still rubbing his eyes, while Qin Guang and Lin Jingwei looked at Xianxia with ashen faces. What? I dare you to say it again. Xianxia looked at Qin Guang and the others with a sad face, then waved his phone screen in front of them. On it was the hot news on today's front page app. Zhang Yaji. She came out of the closet. Qin Guang had better eyesight, so he saw everything clearly. On Xianxia's phone was a slightly blurry and dim photo, but the facial features were distinguishable. Then Xianxia pointed at the tall woman, who was hugging Zhang Yaji, and gritted his teeth. Brother Guang, who is this woman? She stole your business. Chop her to death. Kill her all at once. Qin Guang slapped himself. He was addicted to acting cool yesterday, so he didn't check. He must have accidentally taken a photo of Lu Chao Club's staff when he was taking advantage of Zhang Yaji in the passageway after beating someone up. He didn't know who had the guts to do that. But this wasn't important. It wasn't important anymore. Things were about to blow up. Brother Guang, you flirted with this woman. Zhang Yaji is our goddess and she's your old friend. You can't watch her fall into the fire pit. Xianxia was still howling. Qin Guang looked at him with a dark expression. Lin Jingwei also couldn't speak for a long time. Xianxia, your idea is great. You want Brother Guang to be self-sufficient. Bai Nyangzi also pounced on Xianxia's bed and snatched the phone. He clicked his tongue and said, "Oh my god, this handsome tea is so beautiful and this figure is amazing. Why does it look so familiar? Forget it, she's too beautiful. I can't take it anymore. It's still early in the morning, let me take a swipe to calm myself." Lin Jingwei's face was ashen and he screamed, "Bai Nyangzi, don't. Please don't." As he shouted, he jumped onto Bramble's bed with his head in the air. Qin Guang looked at this scene and clutched his chest tightly. "Ouch, my heart hurts. I can't take it anymore. I might become the first martial sage to die of a heart attack." You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.